right?
ZARDOZ speaks to you, his chosen ones. The gun is good. Go forth and kill.
Came here in the stone head.
I don't know.
It is the only path and passage into the vortex. You will show me how you come to be here. Tell me everything.
My name is Zed. For ZARDOZ, I am an exterminator. Caution, caution, you are approaching the bridge.
Look into the ring.
Took a woman in his name. ZARDOZ.
ZARDOZ.
Tabernacle is indestructible and everlasting.
Well, good afternoon, Eternals and friends. Welcome to the show. Thank you all for being here. And welcome to my panel of brutal exterminators. I've assembled an all-star cast today, all of whom promised to be cosplaying Sean Connery's costume, but I don't see anybody actually doing it. So
hang on, let me get my shirt off real quick.
Well, I can certainly talk like him.
Yes, you can. So today we are gathered in mutual meditation to consider one of the most reviled and underappreciated movies of the 1970s, nay, of all time, perhaps. A movie known by many for that unique costume worn by its star, but not much beyond that. It's ridiculed, it's reviled, it's ignored at the time of release. It's actually in my opinion, do a reappraisal. As inside this movie, there's quite a good story and a good movie attempting to get out, to escape the vortex. But no one's ever going to claim it's a masterpiece, but it's certainly more than a codpiece, in my opinion. And I took a long time to think of that line.
Why you want to make me spew all over my microphone?
So I hope that one worked. I've watched this movie twice in the past, a long time ago. And the first time I didn't get it at all. I think because I expected a hard science fiction movie and it wasn't. Second time around, I kind of appreciated it more for what it was, science fantasy movie, and I found it a lot more satisfying. So, but we're going to get into all of that. I'd just like to, first of all, welcome those in the chat who've decided to turn up for this eye-bleaching experience. We have, Joe's Atmosphere's on the panel. I mean, geez, he's in the chat and the panel. How does that happen? How does that happen? Sean Estep. Yeah. Hail to you, Sean. Welcome. Let me just find the comments so I can start highlighting a few. I need a producer. Where's the producer when I need them? Lord Thoth, sir, thank you for being here and for being modding.
Praise be, Lord Thoth.
Praise be, Lord Thoth. Lager fan, always good to see you. Thank you for being here. The great D-Bud Martin.
D-Bud, what's up, man?
He's he may be a little late. He's got a business meeting and that will last for 3 hours, so he doesn't have to watch this this movie. The wonderful Christian Delorme obviously has been a guest on the show and will be again in the future, without no doubt. Good to see you, Christian. We got a few others here. Sentient Dildo, who would have fitted into this movie very well, I think, as a character. He could have been one of the brutal exterminators.
Character or prop, either one.
Death by dildo.
Death by dildo. Wonderful Darius Munchausen, who hopefully will be joining us at some point.
One Munchausen, I think, is good.
Indeed. Multiple Munchausens, who knows? We have Ron Phillips. And yes, happy birthday, Joe. Joe's Atmosphere, our good
57
friend.
today. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, 57. You don't look a day over 56.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
And Blair de Blair, the wonderful Blair de Blair. Good to see you, my friend. We'll do a quick recap of everybody else later. Thanks all for being here. Please share the stream out so others can join us. But now to turn to my wonderful, wonderful panel. And if I could figure out how to get their names up on the screen, I would do that. But they've disappeared. I don't know how. Anyway, we'll get them back later. So on my immediate that way, we have from Pop Culture Minefield the effervescent Gary. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, sir. I'm here in downtown Glasgow. The sun is actually, it's weird. It's not raining and people aren't moving. I don't get it. What is up with Glasgow? And I find it funny because we're mirror universe, because you are Scottish, but live in Canada, and I'm from Canada and I live in Scotland here in Glasgow.
The reason they're not moving is it's a good thing, because otherwise you would have been assaulted by now and robbed.
Yes. And they gave me, somebody walked up and gave me this can that has an elixir in it, and I'm enjoying it. It's very good.
Yeah. Something would have happened to you, probably like this.
Sound like a cop to me.
Sometimes you just got to give a woman a good smacking.
Absolutely. But welcome, and I know you have some views on this movie, and
Doesn't
I'm
it look
looking
like I'm
forward
in
to
the sun right now?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to ignoring those views completely later, so that will be fun. And to your left or right, or whichever reality we're in, is the wonderful Imperatus. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing all right. This movie was, tested my patience, to say the least.
Indeed. It is a unique experience, very unique experience indeed, and I'm sure you have some cynical things to say about it later. I look forward to those.
Yeah, more than likely.
Yeah, and I forgot to play your I still don't think you like that song, do you?
I don't dislike it. I'm not the biggest Rammstein fan, but like I said, when you first aired that, you got to love the name of the song, too.
Absolutely. Below me, as is
Below
the,
me.
below me, and possibly
here.
blowing me at the same time, is another stalwart of the channel, one of my beloved regular panelists.
That happens off camera.
The man who's going to be visiting Canada soon, the Pope, Metallicus I, the real Pope. How are you, mate?
Eventually, he'll do 3 miracles and he'll be Saint Pope.
Saint Pope,
Metallicus.
indeed.
It's true.
I thought you could only become a saint when you were deceased, though.
No, you can do it if you do those 3 miracles and fake being dead, or
Yeah,
if you're
well,
a
it'll be-
woman faking orgasm. Same thing.
If you can get through this show, that'll be a miracle. How are you, sir?
Good, man. Thanks for having me back on. I actually just hit a couple 100 subs the other day. Just came off a great stream yesterday, so I'm
Glad
amped
to
for this
hear it.
movie.
Good for you, mate. Glad to hear it. Yeah, you do some great shows. I just wish I could do more than listen into them because they're always on when I'm at work. But come October, that will be over. So, and yeah, I do have your piece of music too.
Nothing for me though.
I did. I played you the Bond slap.
Oh, is that?
I've got this one.
Looks like Chuck's taken old One Eye to the optometrist. Jeez,
I've done that.
That's for
I've done it
you.
a few times.
That's awesome.
Now, I have a very special guest. They're all very special guests, but this one's another very special guest. He's kind of off in this direction. He's over there. It's Joe's Atmosphere, and I do have a clip, Joe, for you as it's your birthday.
Oh, what an atmosphere. I love a party with a happy atmosphere.
Who the fuck was that?
As only a 70s guy could do. That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Was that Danny Aiello?
No, that was Russ Abbott, British comedian Russ Abbott, who had a couple of hits. That one was called Atmosphere, and being very obvious with my jokes, I figured that one was for Joe.
There you go, man. That's
Well, I
very
got to tell you,
cool.
man, I've been drinking this juice. Dildo told me not to drink it because he said it might make me a little gay for this show.
Oh no, I'm getting dizzy from all the
So that would be a
gayness.
reduction in the amount of gayness for you if you were just a little gay.
Yeah, because I feel less gay today. I
Well,
need
it's
more
not June anymore, so you know.
It's
too
true.
much.
I need more doom cock. I need more doom cock.
Yeah, well, you need more. Take the doom out, and you might be right.
Yeah,
Anybody
because you
need
need
more
a bit
of
of
that?
cock
No.
in there, did you?
It's after June. You're losing some of your power.
Well, that's the problem with the Irish. It's always a wee cock.
And it's a diddly potatoes is the problem. Where's my shillelagh? So we have our final guest for the moment. I mean, others may be dropping in and out, and I certainly hope so. Is another friend of the channel who's been on a couple of times too, and he's I love him because he's like me. He's a huge fan of the Who. So it's Mr. Legalize Adulthood, who does indeed have a clip somewhere in this enormous lineup of clips, and it's disappeared. But never mind. Oh no, here
Well,
it
you
is.
know what?
Legalize,
Who
buddy. How are you?
Why you didn't play me one
Hello.
song?
I'll play Cobwebs and Strange for you.
You know what? Did you hear me or did you leave the show this morning when I was defending the Who? Because someone says they're not really a rock band. I'm like, fuck you.
I heard that. Of course. they're
How
a
does
rock
anything
band.
with Pete Townsend in it not count as a rock band?
They are
I
the
don't know.
rock
That's
band
crazy. What are
What-
you
what
talking
were they
about?
listening to
What
that
filthy
made you
heretics
think that?
spoke this nonsense?
For
Who was it
Legalize.
that said that? Was that Danny that said that? Dork Night? Somebody on the show said it, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not real rock.
So
I could
Legalize,
see
my friend.
arguing they're
How are
not
you?
metal because everybody has
They're not
shifting
metal.
definitions for that.
They're really, in many ways, the fathers of what became punk.
Well,
Anyway,
they-
I'm so happy to be here because this is one of my favorite movies ever since I first saw it. And
good.
Unlike that 70s rock fan, I got it the first viewing and everybody else was like, I'm so confused. I'm like, are you kidding? It was great. It was awesome. There's so many ideas that were going on.
Indeed, and I've come to appreciate that over the years that there is so many good ideas in there, and it's great that on this panel today we have a wide range of opinion from the cynics to the lovers to those in between. So we're going to have some good analysis.
I just read Dildo's comment that I want ABBA.
Count me as in between.
Let's have a look. Yes, Dildo is in between. Well, he usually is in between. He's in between.
He says Gary demands you play ABBA as his intro song.
Yeah, so Liger fan thinks that we should remake this with Kanye West as Z. See, there's the first question. In Britain, that would be called Z. Oh no, it's Z in Britain and Z over in America, isn't it? Sorry,
Yes.
I got that the wrong way around. So why is it not called Z in the North American release?
Because Z sounds stupid.
That's right.
And they would also have to redub it. So
yeah, I'm looking for
and John
the.
Boorman's not American.
I know. I'm looking for the, but yes, Z would probably have caused some issues for some people over here. I think. I'm trying to find the ABBA quote. I'm sorry, I'm miles behind on these. But Lord Thoth is offended at you, Gary, and in fact, I think we all are. I think we can safely say we're all offended.
Well, thank God I did my job.
Sorry, I've lost the ABBA quote, but
he can't leave the stream until everyone's mad, at least a little bit.
So we will get into the details of the movie soon. I want to start with looking at just some of the basics about the filming of it, the crew that filmed it, and some of the main cast, and then we'll get into talking about the plot with accompanying visuals. But today, I did want to divert us a little bit. We talked about this backstage. Obviously, we had the sad death announced today of David Warner.
Yeah.
So sad.
What a shame.
I think we all absolutely adore. A fantastic actor. Died at 80 years old. A man who's been in so many good movies over the years. Not just genre movies, but every kind of genre you can imagine, not just sci-fi or
horror, comedy, drama, historical,
straightforward drama.
I loved him ever since I first saw him get decapitated by a plate glass window.
Oh yeah,
that
the
was my
Omen.
favorite.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That was my first and favorite moment with him.
Yep.
Before VHS, my friend filmed it off the TV with his 8mm camera, and we used to watch it over and over and over again.
Right.
No shit.
One of the greatest effects ever done, really, in a movie. That plate
And
glass
I've heard
chopping
shows
his head
say
off.
that it was so bad, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I was traumatized by that.
Yeah,
we
I
used
thought
to
he
watch
got
it in
his
slow
head
motion,
cut.
and it held up in slow motion, even for it being a
Hell yeah.
obviously
Oh,
a
yeah,
practical
Thank
effect.
you.
and it
Thank
left a
you.
mark. I mean, that really did leave a red mark there for him. But,
My favorite
I
role he ever did, guys, was Time After Time. One of the McDowell brothers was in that with him, and there he is,
Malcolm.
right there
Was
from
it
that
Roddy?
film, right there. He
Malcolm-
played
no, it was
Jack the
Malcolm
Ripper in
McDowell.
it. He was friends with H.G. Wells and stole his time machine and came to the
Was it
Yeah,
70s.
Roddy or
this time
Malcolm?
Malcolm played the good
Really good.
guy.
Yes.
Yeah, he was H.G. Wells in it. Yeah.
Yep.
hmm
And he
Yeah, it was
did
a
an
great
excellent job of like a total nerd Herbert G. Wells.
Yes. Totally awesome. Totally out of his element in the 70s. But Jack was right at
Right.
home, man.
And it's one of my favorite movies, in fact, of all time.
Yep.
But, all time, haha. And then, of course, we can't ignore Time Bandits.
No, hell no. Yeah.
Be careful with that.
Which is
Freaking
just-
Concentrated evil.
That's right. Digital watches, calculators. He was just so good. I mean, he brought quality to everything he did. Just brilliant. And then,
Plus, he was a Grail chaser in Babylon
Indeed.
5.
yeah. And then we have, of course, another one of our favorites, all of us, I'm sure, Tron.
Ron, of course, the master,
The MCP.
master program. Yep. hmm
He's just, yeah. I mean,
End
these are
of
just
line.
a handful of the great movies he did. And I'm sure we'll all be out there making videos.
Which, by the
tribute
way,
videos.
was also a semi-retelling of Oz.
Yes.
Yeah, he was-
Okay.
Yeah, I can buy that.
Never thought about it that way, but
Yeah.
I'll go with it.
Mhm.
Do you want
Yes,
to introduce
actually,
our
it's a
latest
matter of record.
panelist before we continue? Sorry, it's Darius Munchausen.
That's popcorn.
Buttered popcorn.
Welcome, Darius. Or don't be welcome.
Right.
Whatever
Fuck you,
prefer.
Darius.
It's probably
I'm
muted.
crashing this party. You know, I
Good to
just,
finally hear your voice, Darius. Very
Oh.
cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here. You know,
Okay,
I just watched
Guys are wrong. He
Zardoz
does not sound like a girl. He sounds like a guy.
a few weeks ago. I got to pick the movie with Slasher and Carol's Cookies.
And I picked Zardoz, and I think Carol's Cookies will never forgive me for
Right.
making her watch it. But of course, I love the movie. I'm like, what are you talking about? This movie's awesome.
Yep.
So anyway, R.I.P. David Warner. As I say, we'll probably all be making some kind of tribute videos. I know.
I'm definitely going to, because he's also the ambassador in my second favorite. I mean, of course, every decent Trek fan's favorite Trek movie is Wrath of Khan, but my second favorite is Undiscovered Country. I love that movie. I love the whole thing, how it mirrors the falling of the Berlin Wall and everything. That's when Star Trek was at its best, showing things that happened in history through the lens of the future. You know what I mean? And that was really cool.
And it happened slightly earlier too. That movie was written in like '86.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of course, he did have a part to play in. It's certainly not one of my favorite movies, but in Titanic, he had a fairly substantial role in Titanic, which, you know, I mean, fair dues as an actor, that would have been a good gig for him, and he was probably one of the more interesting characters in that. Even though he
was a henchman.
Yeah, he didn't.
He was a retired police officer, and when I saw that movie as a kid, I was like, "Hey, that's the guy that voices Ra's al Ghul in Batman the Animated Series."
That's right. Another thing he did. He just had such great work right back to the 1960s and British TV. He did a lot of good stuff. And
well, he's one of those guys like Ned Beatty, who we lost last year. He's a character actor, and he never was the lead guy. I think, you know, the closest he came was probably movies like Time After Time, and where he was a
or The Omen. He was
and The Omen. He was a large.
He wasn't the lead,
but he never was the lead guy. But I mean, movies don't get made without great character actors like him.
Knew when you saw him, you were going to get some quality.
Yeah, I've never seen anything with him in it that I didn't like. That's for sure.
It reminds me of like Malcolm McDowell is the same. You mentioned the McDowells. Malcolm McDowell, always get quality out of him. Terrence Stamp. These guys, I love those guys from that era, British actors of that era.
Even if the movie isn't very good, his performance is always good.
Yeah, he doesn't let you down ever. He never does. No.
Yeah. So R.I.P. David, and as I say, over the coming days, I'm sure we'll all be talking more about that. But we'll return to today's special event, which is ZARDOZ. So just to go over a little bit at the basics of this and who was involved, because when you look at actually who was involved, it really should have been an extremely good movie. So made by Warner Brothers. Oops, sorry, wrong one. There we go. Flipping the wrong screen there. Directed, 20th Century Fox, not Warner Brothers. Directed by John Boorman. Now, Boorman, British director, is still with us. 89 years old, but he's still hanging in there.
Did he do Excalibur?
Well, he did. So he just came off directing Deliverance before this. Deliverance was a big hit.
Yeah.
Obviously, a couple of uncomfortable moments in it if you were Ned Beatty.
Right?
Yeah. But great movie, very tense, big hit, made a lot of money. Made Burt Reynolds, and he was on his way to being a star, but made him a bigger star. And it did have that great dueling banjos moment with Ronnie Cox and the kid. So Boorman had a good track record because he'd done that, and he'd done, as we talked about backstage, Point Blank, which is another freaking awesome movie. Brilliant movie. Lee Marvin is just kick ass in this.
I felt that Boorman developed for Lee Marvin.
Yeah. And Lee Marvin wanted Boorman as the guy to make this.
That I'm glad you mentioned this one because I have never seen it, but I'm a big Lee Marvin fan. I love Cat Ballou with him in it, and some of the war movies he made. And I'll definitely have to check this one out after seeing this.
Well, there was Hell in the Pacific, which was also Boorman.
He did with him and Toshiro Mifune. Yeah. Yeah.
Another great movie. Again, a little bit underestimated at the time and perhaps not treated great critically, but I love that movie as well.
The studio didn't respect it. They made him shoot a whole new ending for it, but eventually opted to put his original ending back in.
Yeah, that's right. And I prefer the original ending because it's a little more ambiguous in some ways.
Ambiguous and heavy.
Yeah, it's very heavy, but great movie. Wasn't a huge success, but it certainly didn't harm Boorman's reputation. And then, of course, later on, after ZARDOZ he made, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, Excalibur. That's a German poster for it there, and then the UK. I absolutely adore this movie. I mean, you look at some of
It
the
is the
actors that were in it.
measuring stick for King Arthur movies. I don't care what anybody says. Me and my
agree.
buddies back in school, we played Dungeons and Dragons every weekend, pissed off our girlfriends doing that shit. And we went and saw this movie about 8 times in the theater. I mean, we went over and over. Really did.
It's a great film. It is the best version of the Arthurian legend.
Yeah.
And I want to point out that all of the posters were painted by one guy, Bob Peake.
Oh.
He's best known for doing the Star Trek movie posters.
Right.
But Bob Peake's, he passed away. We lost him a few years back. But his son, Thomas, is a really nice guy, and he's going to come on our show eventually. We're trying to work out a schedule with him to talk about his artwork and how much of an impact he had on cinema. And this stuff, like that, the one main poster that was used with all the green and the glowing, it's amazingly beautiful and sells the movie. It gives you that fantasy feel.
It's something we've lost is really good movie posters. They're all just the same, like 4 people standing in front of a blank background kind of now.
Trying not to offend anybody with boobs or
Photoshop
anything.
destroyed movie posters in the 90s. And,
it didn't have to, but I think it was the fact that most people are watching movies on streaming or by video rental earlier. And there just wasn't the need for a big poster anymore that created like a big visual impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the movie posters were more creative now, then Disney wouldn't be able to remove the black guy when the movie goes to China.
That's true.
Yeah, right as they're painted.
Right.
Well, those movie posters from back then were some of the greatest pieces of art I ever saw. And I've been drawing my whole life, and I always tried to make them, I tried to redraw them. That's some of the first drawings I did, like the Raiders of the Lost Ark one I always remember when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And
That's
this
a
one
great
was
one.
great too. Yep.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat said that this movie changed their life. I think for me, in a way, it did too, because I was always more of a sci-fi fan, but when I saw this, I really understood the power of a great fantasy, historic medieval fantasy movie done well.
And Helen Mirren.
And Helen Mirren.
God,
Helen Mirren done well. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
She's
my
so
God,
hot.
was she gorgeous back then? Oh my
Oh,
God!
yeah.
I mean, she's
God.
still pretty now, but I mean, when she was young, my gosh, what a dish! Good
And a
lord.
really great supporting cast in this. A lot of younger guys who went on to do stuff like Gabriel Byrne and a bunch of other British actors.
Right,
And
Patrick.
Liam Neeson's in
Isn't
it.
Patrick Stewart in it?
Patrick
Isn't he?
Stewart's in it.
Patrick Stewart plays
Liam
the
Neeson,
dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Liam Neeson.
Liam.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people you recognize in it.
The ending.
But I never
just-
saw the guy that played Arthur. I never saw him in anything else.
Oh, he was in a lot of stuff.
Stage actor, mainly Shakespearean stage actor. Is it Nigel Terry?
He did
Yeah,
the
that's his
movie
name.
Black Widow
Okay.
back in like 1990. But what I remember him more for was in the 80s, he starred in the film with Alan Arkin and Robert Duvall called Sherlock Holmes, The 7% Solution.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Played Sherlock
Yeah,
Holmes.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Good movie. Yeah. But yeah, he didn't.
Nicole
have a huge-
Williams, as some British actors love to refer to him, the single best over actor in England.
And there's a lot of them, so that's a big achievement.
I know.
So that's John Boorman. I mean, you couldn't get a better director at the time, and apparently, though, he was out trying to make a Lord of the Rings adaptation. It fell through, and he said, "Well, I've got this other idea," and that became ZARDOZ.
Well, he
So-
he
that
also
was
wrote
Zardoz.
Zardoz.
He did, and I'm
It's
just
written and
wondering
directed by Boorman.
wondering what his Lord of the Rings would have looked like, made in the early '70s by that director. I mean, it's one of these what ifs.
Well, I mean, if Excalibur is any indication, it would have been decent.
Yeah, if he'd
would have,
had the budget, yeah.
Right.
Anyway, it didn't happen, and we got ZARDOZ instead. And what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. But his co-producer was a different kind of guy. It's a guy called Charles Orme, British guy who was very old school. Done a lot of stuff in the British old glory days of British cinema between the 40s and 60s. He'd worked with Emil Pressburger and the Red Shoes, movies like that, associate producer, production supervisor roles. really getting the movie done on the ground.
That looks like a mugshot, dude.
It really does. I was just thinking that.
But yeah, he'd worked on all these fantastic British movies from the 40s, 50s, 60s, very old school. And then he worked on Deliverance. He also then went on to be production supervisor on The Man with the Golden Gun, The Omen, and Outland, which we watched last time out, and Excalibur.
Love Outland.
I hate that I missed that one. I was watching your stream.
Single
of it.
best
I love
worst
that
sci-fi movie ever made.
I'll go back and do it again sometime. We'll do it
High,
again.
High Noon in Space.
High Noon in
What's
Space.
up?
So this guy had like Boorman, had a good track record, knew what he was doing. You know, these were not just amateurs, and they had a vision for this movie. The DP, Jeffrey Unsworth, had a brilliant track record. 2001, Cabaret, and then, as we can see here, Superman. And The Bridge Too Far would be another one, or A Mankini Too Far if you want to retitle ZARDOZ or something. But
not wrong.
Great DP. So you can't say that the movie wouldn't be well filmed. So
yeah, 2001 Space Odyssey is like one of the big ones, and Superman the Motion Picture are two major films he did.
You know, now that you mention it, in ZARDOZ, you see a lot of that wide shot panoramic stuff that he was known for.
Yeah, there's some 2001 visual references, I think, because of that in it. Not for obviously the space stuff, but the stuff with the apes and so on. There's some references.
Yeah,
in there,
they went back and forth between him and Kubrick on the photography.
Yeah,
for a lot of those scenes.
Yeah, but so this guy really knew what he was doing. So if you looked at that list before the movie was made, you would have said, you know what, this is looking pretty good. It's going to shape up to be something. However, one of the problems was that the costume design was by, now let's see what her name is, Christelle Cruz Boorman.
Nepotism?
Clearly nepotism.
That's the big aha moment. So it's like, hey, John, honey, if you want to get any in the next few weeks, you're going to have to get me the costume design.
What's that? Sean Connery's going to be in the movie? Okay, let's strip him down naked.
I read it completely differently. The budget for this movie was $1 million. And 200,000 of the budget was to pay for Sean Connery.
Like that.
That's right.
$1 million.
So 20% of the budget is spent on Sean Connery, and the rest of it is used to make the movie.
Yeah, they had $1,000 for everything else.
So
right.
I think
they originally wanted
not
Burt
so
Reynolds.
much nepotism as it is like I gotta make this for the cheapest way possible. So I'm gonna tap some people who will work for cheap and or free.
They did, and that's why they filmed with a lot of Irish extras that really weren't. You know, they're probably getting paid like £5 a day or something. Yeah, they were Irish gypsies, traveling people, gypsies as we called them then. But yeah, you mentioned Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds had been originally cast, so it's just interesting to imagine what that would have looked like. You know, I think it's a fairly similar kind of look and feel.
I was going to say about the same. But yeah, it's about the same.
Would he have worn the boots so well, though? This is the question.
Yeah. Burt might have skipped leg day every once in a while.
He's wearing a Burt Reynolds mustache.
Yeah. The thigh-high boots, I think, are often overlooked because of what's above them. But
you mean that red banana hammock?
Yeah, the red. So we've had various names for this thing. It's probably a little earlier than I intended to get into this, but as the actress said to the bishop, but. So we've got this costume, which has been described as, and I have a list here, a nappy, a mankini, skimpy shorts, a banana hammock. That was your one, Gary. A diaper.
I like that other one that came in.
Diaper, a onesie, red leather. Fuck harness.
That's
red
the one.
leather
That
was me.
I like that one.
Red leather what?
You must admit, it does exude raw masculinity.
Oh my gosh, it looks like a male version of the Parakian Defender from friggin' Heavy Metal. Maybe it was the inspiration for that female character.
Hey, with suspenders.
When you see that what looks the suspenders that look more like bandoliers, for him to say, We don't need no stinking badges.
Yeah, we're getting some good comments in the chat here. I like this one from Soul Assassin. You would have worn the Smokey and the Bandit hat with the suit.
Oh my God, yes.
That would have
And
been
four, good
freaking
buddy.
awesome. Now, our good friend Purple
bitch.
Valkyrie is here, and she says, I would rock those boots, and I believe her. I believe
Oh, yeah.
she
Hey,
would.
Purple.
There you go.
she
And in
would.
fact, I'm thinking we're going to need photographic evidence eventually of that Purple, so don't leave us hanging.
Right.
Or don't.
and thank you for
leave
being
us
here.
Hanging.
Indeed. Yeah, but the Burt Reynolds hat would have looked kind of good in that.
That outfit is
So-
definitely the Chippendales meme right there.
Yeah,
It
right.
is.
So it
Before
did get on-
Chippendales, they had Sean Connery.
That's it.
And just before I go off the cast, and we'll be going back to that costume a million times. Trust me. The one of the interesting crew members, was a guy called David Monroe, who did the music. This is him here, and I'd never heard of him, but he's unfortunately deceased long ago. But he was an expert on what you would call early music, so medieval, Renaissance, and Elizabethan music. Released over 50 albums of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
Was
his music's been used in other films later after
Yeah.
he was gone.
Apparently he was a legend in the classical world. He was like the guy who revived interest in that form of music, and he knew how to rock a recorder, and a flute. But so skin flute, yeah. But yeah, he did a lot of that music, including the versions of Beethoven's Seventh that's used in it, which is a really beautiful piece, actually. So that was the crew, and again, I would say you would look at that and think, yeah, that looks like it could be pretty good. Those guys, they seem to know what they're doing. They could be a good bunch. But then we now move on to the cast. The casting, if I can find the correct buttons to press. See if Darius would ever accept my offer that I sent to have full control over my StreamYard. He could be my producer.
Oh, did you?
Yes, long time ago. You don't have to do it, mate. It's okay. So the cast are who we and so let's start with obviously the man himself. And here we can see how far the mighty have fallen or risen.
Man in the G-string. There it is.
That's right. So from Dr. No to this, Sean had been, I think Diamonds Are Forever was 3 years before this, and he had done The Offense, which was a low-budget psychological thriller, crime thriller. And according to John Boorman, he said, Sean was looking for a job. Nobody was offering him any jobs. He needed the money.
That is usually how you end up in that outfit is you need the money.
That's right. Well, the funny thing about it is Boorman says in interviews, I've read a lot of stuff, contemporary interviews at the time, he said, we showed him the outfit and said, this is what you're wearing. And he went, fine, no problem. And he never complained about it or said anything about it. Just bang, put it on.
True
In fact,
professional.
I think he wore it at home to get into the part. And,
The only one who wears that now is Gary.
Yeah.
Well, that's right, yeah. Gary's
when
got one
I'm
on
at
right
home not doing anything, nobody's around, I slap that shit right on.
As
So
ridiculous
cameras
as this
up.
costume is, Sean Connery is one of the few actors of the time that could have sold it, and he did.
He did. And to be fair to him, not once during the movie does he look at all uncomfortable.
No, I know. He
In it.
just is always in that part, man. The only weird acting he did in that entire film is the mirror scene. When he disappears behind the mirror, it's so fake. It just doesn't even look like he's trying.
That's right. He looks like he's falling in, but you can tell he's just floating. behind.
He's like Monty Python fall. Oh,
Well, Sean was always a guy that was comfortable in his own skin. I mean, as they said on Saturday Night Live all the time, your mother likes it.
Yeah, that's right. I forget the rest, but your mother. Forget the rest, but your mother's a whore. One's a duck. I forget the rest, and your mother's a whore. I'll take horse semen for $500, Alex. So, yeah, he might have been a bit hard up for cash, but I think legalized. You said he got paid £200,000 for this. Is it you legalized? It said
$200,000, 20% of the whole budget.
Dollars, okay, which isn't bad. I mean, he probably did 3 or 4 weeks' work. That'd be okay.
Well, you know, in 73, the dollar went, you know, actually bought something.
Well, that's right. And as Sean says, Jerry's bandolier is full of chapstick. Gary's bandolier full of chapstick.
I got to fill it up with something, man. I got the curse of the Irish.
But the funny thing about the bandolier is when you see it is that he's got all these different rounds in there. There's rifle rounds of various calibers. There's shotgun shells. The whole movie he just uses a revolver. So those are kind of
pointless suspender bandolier.
It's a pointless exercise for him to wear those. He does drop them at some point, I believe. So that was the star of the movie, replacing Burt, who was meant to do it, and I think he did a pretty good job, you know, quite frankly.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Of course,
So
there she is. Charlotte
so co-star
Rampling.
Charlotte Rampling.
She is so gorgeous.
I think you got the name right the first time. She is a
Charlotte
dumpling, no doubt.
Indeed.
Yes.
Fairly well known at the time. Done a lot of movies and TV. Obviously wasn't afraid to look sexy.
No.
Or get nude.
Or get nude.
Definitely cut in the cloth of Twiggy at the time. You know. Thin,
not overly endowed.
No,
there,
but
you know.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember her as like a sexy older broad from the movies of but
she was in Dexter in
right
2013, yeah.
So I remember her being like a sexy older woman in all the movies and TV shows like Dexter before I saw ZARDOZ.
A lot now. She's
in Dune. She was in Dune. She was the Reverend Mother, one of the Mohiam, Reverend Mother Mohiam in Dune. And she'll be in the next one, I'm assuming. So she's still getting a lot of good work. She actually lived and worked in France for a long time, married Jean-Michel Jarre, composer, the electronic music guy, composer. Yeah.
Okay.
So she's a fairly class act, you know, and gets a lot of work, always did. So again, pretty well known at the time. Good choice as a co-star. And then it kind of not fell off. I mean, I don't want to insult the other actors, but it got a little bit more basic. I guess the money ran out. So John Alderton plays Friendly, one of the Eternals, who actually turns out to be a renegade and wants to help Zed destroy the whole thing. He was best known in British TV for doing sitcoms like Please Sir, where he played a gormless teacher and so on. So it was kind of weird to see him in a serious role, you know.
I was fixing to say, wasn't he a comedian? I mean,
he was a comic actor. Yeah, did a lot of sitcoms. He did some James Herriot stuff, playing a vet for years. Did Please Sir with his wife Pauline Collins, who was pretty cute, I have to say.
I thought I recognized him when I saw the movie.
Yeah, done tons. He did probably minor parts in Carry On movies and stuff like that. So big TV sitcom guy. He was Friendly. It was kind of jarring to see him. Friendly is the character in this.
No,
actually,
the character's name is Friend.
Friend, sorry. Charlotte Rampling was Consuela, the Vortex controller. Vortex 4, I think it is. Am I right in saying? She's the controller.
We'll get into it, I'm sure, but it's a very weird governing structure of the Vortex.
She's the girl boss.
The assistant controller, May, who you see with the blanket over Sean later doing lots of stuff, is
she plays Kreia? Really?
Yep.
Yeah, she was Sarah Kestelman, and she played Kreia in the Knights of the Old Republic too. So she does that voice and has done again a lot of TV in Britain and theatre over the years. So she's still around. Very freckly.
I guess Boorman was known for highlighting all those British actors because we saw a lot of them in Excalibur and
British theatre actors and TV. Yeah, he obviously knew them all really well.
It makes you wonder what it would have been like with Burt Reynolds, who's American.
Yeah.
Would have been interesting.
Well, if he'd played the character like he played the Bandit and Smokey and the Bandit, that could have been interesting.
That just would have been super weird.
Yeah, or
I'd like to get a deep fake and have Sean Connery put him all over Smokey and the Bandit, see what it would look like.
And the final guy that had a sort of fairly substantial role was a guy called Niall Buggy, who's an Irish actor, and he played the Arthur Frayne, a.k.a. Operator of Zardoz, a.k.a. the man behind the curtain.
The man behind the curtain.
Yeah, that's what I thought of. I thought of The Wizard of Oz when I saw him. Yeah.
And he, to me, I mean, I don't want to knock the guy, but I felt they could have done with a guy with a bit more gravitas.
Yeah, he was a bit goofed, wasn't he? Yeah.
That whole opening thing is so fucking weird. It looked like something done by Roger Corman with one of his, like, I just hired this guy off the street.
So Boorman explains in the commentary that opening thing was done to try and explain the movie to people because they didn't get it. And then he says, and it didn't work.
It just made it cheesier. And I think this guy is a bit young, and they could have done, we were saying before the stream started, wouldn't it be great if they'd had like a Christopher Lee or a Peter Cushing?
Oh my God, older, more recognized actor.
One of those guys that would have nailed it.
In this movie, all the old people are the people who've been punished.
Right.
So it wouldn't have worked to have an older person.
Yeah, because he had
they had to appear. He was drawing that. Well, I'm sure we'll get into it, but there was clear that all the people that were older were all like the renegades that had been punished, whereas like the people that are in the society and functioning are all like, you know, imbued with eternal youth.
Right.
I guess that means
they even called them the renegades.
Yes.
Yeah, so anyway, he's popped up occasionally in things. This the clip there's a shot there from Mamma Mia where he's a small part as the priest. And then the one on the right is one of my favorite shows of all time, Father Ted.
Yeah, I watched that too.
Yes, Father Ted.
Yeah, so he used to pop up in cameo roles in that, which I mean, I adore Father Ted. So anyone that's in Father Ted gets a pass from me because it's one of the greatest comedies ever.
There you go.
Hey, I got a question for you. Do you want to scoop on your channel?
Do I want to? Of course I do.
Oh,
Go ahead and
be careful when Gary offers you a scoop.
This is straight from ice cream. Oh, don't do that. Put me with we're all normal size. God, those people haven't moved an inch behind me. What the fuck is going on with the Scottish man?
Yeah, he's abnormally sized. Put him back to normally
sized.
It's
the cold in Scotland
so,
makes them.
Mikey Sutton from Geekosity Magazine just messaged to let Andre, Tom, Keith, and I know that it is official, but nobody's covering it. Nothing from Rolling Stone, nothing from Deadline, because they don't want to cover this. That Michael DeLuca has officially replaced Toby Emmerich at Warner.
I see.
Oh, let me see it. I have one for this.
This is earth-shaking news, as Keith just said.
What?
That is so fucking weird. I'll never. How is that made? That is so fucking weird.
So explain to us then, oh wise one, what impact do you believe this will have?
Well, Michael DeLuca was somebody we knew that was already in line because we've been talking about him for weeks. But Michael DeLuca, I mean, this guy's been involved with some major stuff from Star Trek to Oscar-winning films. He did what is that movie?
Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Captain Phillips. Captain Phillips. He produced
two very similar movies thematically.
Yeah, they're so thematically the same movie, basically. Same villain. No, I don't know. But the guy's got just great credentials. He goes all the way back to stuff like Mouth of Madness, Freddy Krueger. So he came up through the system. And so we already knew he was hired, but we didn't know what he was going to do. And now we officially know he is replacing Toby Emmerich.
Well,
and they get away with that's why the Rolling Stone interview is so stupid, because one, Jim Lee has nothing to do with, he's a below the line person with Warner. And all the news and information that Rolling Stone used was from Warner Media, which is not even, it's defunct now. It doesn't exist. And Jim Lee is the comics division. He just comes in to do artwork, way below the line role. And they focus so much on him. And it's like Stone was doing this last minute hit piece to try to do damage to Zack Snyder. And Zack Snyder is fucking rolling, dude. He's already rolling.
So Emmerich has had a few misfires. So I mean, if you think about it, so
which one
was always Emmerich? Tommy Emmerich.
Toby, Toby
he's had a few
huge
misfires.
mistakes. His biggest mistake was Amber Heard, and really that's more Ann Sarnoff, but Tommy's right there with her, holding her hand through the whole thing. Miller and fucking Heard. It's like that's why they were fired.
Times.
In fact, I remember the day that it happened, the second arrest. It came out that everybody was hiding in their offices at Warner because David Zaslav had moved over there, and he was raging through the office looking for Toby, and he was nowhere to be found. But he wanted to find him. I think he would have fucking fired him that day.
When David Zaslav turns into Victor Zaz.
Yeah, right.
That was a good idea.
He's already bald. So,
well, thanks for breaking that news. I'm sure there'll be a lot more to talk about in the next 2 days on that one, especially Midnight's Edge.
We're going to be covering. Tom and Andre are going to do something. I guarantee you.
Yeah. So let's
get back to Burt Reynolds, Sean Connery.
I got a bunch of I do have a bunch of stills. This will just play in the background. We can feel free to talk over them.
Disembodied head.
Disembodied head, yes.
With a terrible English accent.
With the disembodied head to follow it, of course. But
he's like, hello, I'm the floating head, and I'm here to talk about ZARDOZ.
So this is where he says, I am Arthur Frayne, and I am ZARDOZ. He's the operator of ZARDOZ, really, not ZARDOZ.
Yeah, but do the voice, man. He's like, I'm ZARDOZ.
ZARDOZ. I've lived 300 years, and I long to die. But death is no longer possible. I'm immortal. Or immoral, perhaps. I present now my story, full of mystery and intrigue, rich in irony and most satirical. Which it isn't, actually. There's nothing satirical in it. It may have some irony, though.
Irony, but no satire. But, I mean, the fucking mustache and fake beard is just so goofy.
Couldn't he actually grow the mustache? I mean, what the fuck? I could see the beard, maybe, because it's the, whatever, but you can't grow a mustache?
So this is where they do give us a year, though, 2239. So we are looking at the far future. So at least they've given us that information. And it stars Sean Connery, I believe. But here you see the misty blue hills. Very Excalibur. Charlotte Dumpling. So
County Wicklow.
County Wicklow in Ireland. To be sure, diddly.
Like literally, this is filmed in John Boorman's backyard at his neighbor's house.
Indeed. In fact, Sean Connery stayed in John Boorman's house, I believe, and paid rent because he's that kind of guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I always liked the logo. It just has a really good graphic design look to it.
It's a good logo. Yeah, I tried to find that font and I couldn't get it. I could find the font for the posters, but not for the logo.
Like, I don't buy much T-shirts anymore, but I would definitely buy a ZARDOZ T-shirt if somebody.
Oh fuck yeah, that's a great logo, dude. I'd love that.
I'm going to start a T-shirt shop just to sell you that T-shirt.
I'll buy it.
Just to mention, Boorman, because we joked about nepotism. The fact is, he used his family all the time in his films, and he had himself and 3 other family members that were in.
They're all in here, yeah.
It wasn't just his family; he used his horse in this film.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Charlotte Rampling is riding his horse, Snowy.
That's his son that plays.
I hate to think what he did with it, though.
His son played the part of Arthur's son. The young version. That was actually.
This is an interesting opening, though, because you see the head, and you know immediately that there is some kind of advanced technology here, and they explain it's anti-gravity. This is as far as they go, anti-gravity. But so you think, well, okay, there's some science fiction-y elements to this.
I mean, other than the giant head, it's just a normal day in Scotland.
It is. I mean, it's the weather. The weather's better than normal. I'll give it that.
But it's Ireland.
But it looks the same. So by this point in the movie, had you all first time you all watched it, were you thinking, "I'm up for this. This is good."
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Because I was thinking,
I was loving it from the moment I saw the head.
Yeah, big head flying through the air. I'm up for that. That big head is mentioned in a number of other movies. Shaun of the Dead. we await the giant flying head is a line in Shaun of the Dead.
It's even referenced in Rick and Morty.
That's right, Rick and Morty. And in Pulp Fiction, apparently, the whole Zed's dead thing is
that's
a Zardoz
right.
tribute.
I was going to say, was that a direct reference to this movie? Because that's the first thing I thought when I saw that guy's name.
People do say that. I have no convincing proof other than the fact that lots of people say it.
Possibly Third Rock from the Sun, too. Their boss, the big giant head.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
And in Power Rangers, the evil Lord Zed kind of wears a similar costume.
You're right.
Yeah. So it has had its influences. It's even in Dolomite Is My Name. There's a newspaper with a poster for the movie in it. The Simpsons, they had a Superintendent Chalmers dressed up as Zardoz. Yeah, anyway, it's had some influence. Let's put it that way. The thing that I found interesting about this stuff is they're all their worst. These are the brutal exterminators, not just the brutals, the brutal exterminators. It took me a while to figure out that there was two sets of brutals, and the brutals are just like the non-technological outcasts. So they're chucking the plebs. They're chucking the weapons out. If you look closely, you can see the grips throwing them out inside the head. You see their arms. And this is, I think, the whole thing about the gun is good, the penis is bad. Am I right in saying?
It sounds like a weird form of modern feminism.
Right. Rock fan, if you check the private chat, I believe you'll find something requested by the chat.
All right. Well, we're going to do it. So let me just put this on pause.
Little did you know that part of the Legion of Memers is right here in your midst.
Oh, I hope so.
It was a requested one.
I am honored that they're here. So let me just share this.
My eyes.
Oh, see what I think?
Oh, fuck you. Who did that one?
Thank you.
I did. I just did it while we were talking.
Oh, my God. You
have the raw masculinity of Connery. He's raw, but not masculine.
Retweeting
it was requested by the chat.
It's really
well, thank you, Chat.
You can blame them, Jerry. You can blame them.
That one's going to get clipped and used forever now. I'll just save that image. Save image as.
He's putting it into his porn folder. Do you see that?
That's the fat folder right there.
It's his spank material for later.
I'll go in the bank. It's very, very cleverly hidden as a folder labeled "absolutely not porn."
Yeah,
and people wonder why I don't show my face.
Let me just get this screen back. Hang on. Oh yeah, we got it now. We're watching it. Yeah. So.
Oh, and
this
and
is where
Hope.
Did you tag me on that?
Oh, I haven't got it open right now. Somebody can do it. Somebody will tag you.
Now, Pope. What you just said, I think you could even look at this as like an anti-cop allegory, at least in the beginning, right? Because the brutals are like the plebs and the exterminators are like the cops, right? And they're the ones given exclusive access to guns in order to keep the people in line.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, but it explains later a little bit more about that and the fact that originally the brutal exterminators were just part of the brutals, but they were raised up to try and rather than just kill the other brutals, which you see them doing, to enslave them to grow food. And the guns were Zardoz throws them the guns, they give back the grain. So that, you see there's just stratas even within the brutals. Mm-hmm. Almost like the elites manipulating ordinary people like us to be against each other, you know.
Right.
So there's a lot of
it
modern
as
day
versus people because I'm an American and we all have guns, so it's not a distinction.
Yeah.
Well, an interesting production piece about the guns was Ireland at the time, of course, was riven by the Troubles in the north, and guns were hard to come by legally, even for filming purposes. So they had to get all sorts of special deals to have even disabled guns that they could throw out of the Zardoz there. So that was a little bit of a struggle for them. No doubt they disappeared afterwards and were re-enabled. But so here he is coming out of the green. he hides there, and I had to cut a lot of these pictures because there's boobs. This film is full of boobs.
It's a 70s film. There's actual nudity in it, folks, which I kind of miss in my adult movies these days.
It almost makes up for the thong. Almost.
Actual hair in places other than on the head.
And I think what bothered me
Sean
was
wears a wig.
Watching it the first time, I couldn't figure out why he had decided to go in and hide in this thing. But it's all part of Arthur Frayn's big plan. And you find out later that he's been given Zed some ideas. One of which is you got to get in this thing and find out what's going on. Why are these people in effect enslaving you and the other brutals? Because they are.
Mm-hmm. He kind of incepts the idea into him.
He does, yeah. Because otherwise, what's in it for Zed to go off in this thing, you know?
When he comes out of the grain, the gun rising up out of the grain is like King Arthur's sword coming up out of the lake.
Yeah. And wasn't there a bit in Deliverance like that too?
Yes.
Yes, at the end, the dream sequence.
Nothing will ever be as good as the hand coming out of the grave in Carrie. But
no.
Was it Carrie?
No.
I don't know. That water, when it comes up out of the water, I remember jumping. I didn't jump with Carrie. I jumped with that scene in Deliverance.
Oh, yeah.
Now, do we ever find out why those bodies are plastic wrapped?
Yeah, they're part of the clones that are used to if you die or not die, if you can be translated into another body if you're an Eternal, a fresh one. And these are obviously getting traveling between the vortexes. They're getting made somewhere and then transported. Quite how they do it, I don't know. But you see later the little crystal being put in the head of the clone. Mm-hmm. And that's their consciousness of the Eternal being transferred to another body. Because they're immortal. They can never die. And they can switch bodies when they need to. And then off he goes on his... But even now, you can tell, like, he's not just a thug. He's interested in everything that's going around.
No, he's curious. He's a curious dude, and it's obvious that he's different from everybody else because everybody else is just going along with the program, but he's not. He's got to figure things out. He's
trying to find out what's going on. Yeah, and here we see Arthur Frayn, which is a stupid name if you think about it. I mean, Arthur, he's like a guy that's in a British sitcom, like Till Death Is
it an anagram, though? Or
I'm all for Frayn. All for Frayn. Scrap dealer in the East End, all for Frayn. Yeah. But and you're immediately thinking, this guy dies rather easily, given he's already said he's a wizard or whatever.
But he flies for a few seconds.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Well, we don't know. But yeah, he flies. He falls out the thing and then he flies for a while. So he's got the anti-gravity secret.
I just thought of it, whenever I see this, and I just watched this movie last night for preparation, but when he goes out of the mouth of the head, I just always get the impression that there's just a tremendous updraft and it's just keeping him afloat until he succumbs to the fickleness of wind and then eventually falls to the ground.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I think later when you see in the flashbacks, you see him falling down to the ground. I think he's manipulating gravity in some way.
That's a fair interpretation. I just never thought that.
Well, he is a magician. He says that at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. So they don't spell it out. As Rock Fan said, this is all part of his master plan. So he knew this was coming. He positioned himself by the mouth for a reason, right? So,
I get the impression that he didn't anticipate that.
No.
Well, he didn't know he'd get shot.
He's playing the broad strokes, not the details.
Right.
Yeah, you never could have guessed he would have been shot. Yeah.
However, as we know, the penis is evil.
Yes.
Penis shoots
that line just killed me, man. I about fell off my chair.
The penis is evil. The penis shoots seeds and makes new life to poison the earth.
My brother is in chat just killing me, man. He's in the chat killing me. Yeah.
Where is he?
Oh, that's him right there. The highlighted comment from the
Jose.
chat.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so we're learning a little bit about Zed, but we don't yet learn about the people in the plastic and where he's going and who he may meet there. But this is the vortex he's going to, and again, I don't know why they picked that name. I don't think I would have picked Colony. Might have been a better name, or Enclave, or Vortex sounds a bit too, like he's about to enter a giant volcano or something.
Do you think there's a symbolic meaning to it?
There could be,
Because they just go around in circles forever.
Well, that might be what it's meant to be, and there's more than one, but this is the one he goes to.
But you can't. The thing is, they're all trapped inside the vortex. They can't escape.
Right.
As we think we see later, he tries to get out, and he's up against a big clear force field or something.
Force field, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, yeah, he can't escape it physically, but I mean, culturally, they're all trapped. They're in a dead end. They can't escape the thing that they've created, this enclave, whatever.
Yeah, the ennui of the whole thing. They're all trapped. Yeah.
Right.
So
Because they're like extreme academics, right? That's all they do is.
Well, the Eternals have the sum total of all human knowledge, which is
right, but they
maintained in
don't
the
do
tabernacle.
anything, right? That's all they are is just like, brainiacs. So they forget what it means
they're kind of
to
like
really be alive.
they're kind of like the vampires in Interview with a Vampire in Paris. They're decadent. They're trapped in that moment in time where they started this whole project of them being Eternals and having to live a certain way, and they're trapped in that. Yeah,
which is why we see the catatonics who have just gotten so bored.
Right,
they just give up.
What did they call those guys? They were apathetics or something like that.
Yeah.
There's the apathetics who've kind of lost all will to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And as we find out later, there's also the resistance guys who are have a name too. I've forgotten that name now.
And of course, we have the Botanical Garden.
The rebellion
you need in the
guys.
70s back then. Yeah.
The Renegades? Is that what you're
Renegades?
thinking
That's it. The Renegades. Yeah.
Renegades. Yeah. They were cool. Yeah.
All of these groups have got strata within them. The Eternals have got the Renegades, the Apathetics. They've got the Believers that control things. The Brutals have got the Exterminators like Zed, and they've got the slave ones that grow the food. We don't see them till later, of course. But now here he is at the grow up. This is the grow up, and he sees all that great pot, and
yeah.
That's what it looks like to me in the plastic bottles.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. It's an indoor grow factory there. Yeah,
that's right.
Sure.
It's well set up. I think this is meant to be. This is Arthur Frayne's place, because you go in and you see all his paraphernalia.
Oh, paraphernalia.
When you get inside, you'll see a bit more in the. In fact, I've got a little video clip I can play of that too. So I did try and cut a lot of video clips. Some of them got copyrighted when I put them up in private, so I've only got a couple to show. But yeah, so this is Frayne's place, and it's full of stuff that, if you look at it closely, has got some kind of meaning. There's little bits and pieces.
Kind of looks like my high school bedroom.
What, you had Sean Connery in that outfit in your high school bedroom?
Well, that was me. But,
yeah. So there you go. That's the stages of humanity there.
Mm-hmm.
With the Eternals at the top, and then a question mark.
Now they should have had a mixture of the word, people called apathetics and then people called apoplectics, who are always angry.
Yeah, and so things like that chart on the wall make me wonder if when they have to start farming, if it was like an allegory for the development of agriculture, that mankind has reset itself.
Yeah, that's they reset.
And you see like the ZARDOZ thing in here. There's a Jack in the Box, stuff like that. This is all Sean A-Steps on the screen. This is all Arthur Frayne's stuff. He's a bit of a wizard. He's a bit of a prankster, but he's obviously controlling things too. He's got the control of ZARDOZ. He's managing the head and where it goes and what it picks up and drops off. Whether you don't get the implication he's created any of this. He's just the kind of guy running it.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw Lindsay, the Cynical Geek, stepped in.
Oh, hey, Lindsay. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Lindsay, saw you this morning. Good to see you.
He is raw masculinity, of course. Yes.
Well, of course, it's quite masculine.
Absolutely. Look at my sword. I'll take swords for $500, Alex.
Yeah.
And this is where he starts poking about and hearing noises and finding stuff. In fact, I'm going to pause this and I show a little bit of a video clip that I could get away with showing because I tested it. Wait a minute, is it?
I must be dreaming.
That's what he said when he found. That's what he said when he watched the movie afterwards.
Right.
It is not that one. Nah, I tell you what, I'll find it later. Some of these got claimed, so I can't show them. Not that monetized, but you know.
Yeah, it could still get restricted in some countries.
Yeah, I don't want it to be blocked. It said restricted for the clips I put up, so I got away with 2, which I'll show later. But yeah, he finds the communication device. It's like a ring or something like that. It starts to talk about the different vortexes and their needs. And he's no thug. He understands what he's doing. In fact, this is where you really twig that he can read. Although you don't really find that out until later in the library scene. And how did that happen, you have to wonder.
I just realized that if we were actually in that room seeing this, the text would have been reversed from our perspective because it would have been arranged left to right for him to read. But we're looking at him, so we should see it backwards, but it's arranged for our benefit.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, does it?
Minor
Like, we don't know yet, but he can already read.
But then this is where you hear him speak for the first time. He says bread, and then he says meat. And I think that's the first lines he's actually uttered.
Yeah, and the spelling of words has evolved.
I saw that, yeah.
Or devolved, as it is.
Yeah.
At least it's not Esperanto.
Yeah, do you think you really saw this movie after? I don't know. I've not read anything by Sean Connery that implies that he dissed this movie in any way or was anything but
I've never heard him say anything negative about it.
He actually loved the ideas in it. He said he enjoyed making it, apart from one incident with the makeup, but he's never said a bad word about it, which is unusual because he slagged off an awful lot of his movies.
Boorman said that he and Sean became good friends after filming this.
Yeah, they really did get on well for years. So for some reason he liked it, and I guess he figured it was so different that it...
well, I think also he needed the money.
Yeah, and it was a brave move. But he's starting to figure out the technological gadgets, and that's when you know this isn't just some pastoral paradise or otherwise. It's got gadgets in it and something bigger going on.
Right, because their computers are all the little gems.
Yeah. Yep. Now, Boorman himself said he based a lot of this on the communes of the late 60s and early 70s. Clearly, he'd hung out and a lot of them got stoned and laid several times. So, the film's...
Yeah, well, you can see it. Yeah, you can feel it in the vortex.
There's a lot of this movie that is just, kind of 70s cultural milieu, but I don't think Boorman realized how predictive of modern dystopian bullshit he was actually showing. His only intention was to show the dystopian of a society where people have achieved eternal life, but there's all these subtle things about all the men being very femininely attired, and they're all, except for Sean Connery, they're all like skinny little waif-like dudes,
right?
And the implicit
sexuality,
the tyranny of equality that's going on in their ruling structure and everything. There's so many things that are prescient in there that I don't think he realized that he was saying those things. It was just his expectation of what the evolution of society would be given the second wave feminism of the 70s.
Yeah,
And it's
I
funny you
agree
say
with
that.
you. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Darius.
Well, I kind of felt like it was an inversion of the Time Machine, because in the Time Machine you have the Eloi that are all like feminine or feminized, asexual,
Right.
and they don't know how to read or write, and they're controlled by the Morlocks that are the brutes. But
Right.
in that story, they're actually the intelligent ones, and this one kind of flips it to where like the Eloi, if they were intelligent and the ones in charge, and where he comes from, it would be like the Morlocks, the brutes.
Yeah.
It is. It's an inversion of that. The Eloi characters here, the Eternals, control the brutes.
I found it
have
interesting
physical
that Sean's character Zed was he was not really afraid. He was curious.
That's right, yeah.
I think he knew that he was an alpha in this world when he first got there. Really, it was pretty interesting. Somebody being thrown into that situation would probably be afraid. And he didn't seem that way. He was just curious, trying to find out what was going on
And
in
we
this
don't
part of the
know
world.
it yet until later, but he's been prepped for this by Arthur. He's been raised from the other exterminators to have greater intelligence and to do what he's doing. So you don't know it right now. You just think, well, this guy's just roaming about, but yeah, he's completely unafraid.
By the way, 70s, I want to let you know, I did look something up for you. On the Wiki Tarantino site, it states that Zardoz 1974 was the inspiration for the character Zed in
that's
Zed's
great.
Dead.
See,
And that
kind of
he
thing you
is
could
a
imagine.
huge, Quentin Tarantino is a huge admitted fan of Zardoz.
Yeah, you could imagine that. You could see him being a fan of this. Yeah. Well, there's where we first see the mental powers that these guys have got. That she can dominate them mentally. Yeah. But yeah, the prescience of this film, in watching it in 2022, it's got things in it like hyperfemininity of masculine characters. It's got cancelling people. That's what the Eternals do to the ones they throw out. They cancel them, in effect.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Yeah,
they throw them into the old. They turn them old and throw them out and deny them the pleasures of everything they're doing. It's cancel culture.
And this movie's hardly alone in that. I mean, a lot of 70s dystopian sci-fi popped up more towards the late 70s that talked about a lot of it. Logan's Run.
I was fixing to say Logan's
Soylent
Run. That's what I thought of a lot when I saw this show.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the way it's shot, but it does. The color palette and stuff like that reminds me a lot of Logan's Run.
Well,
right here is a good example of
costumes
something-
definitely are influenced. Yep.
Look at this one, visually inspired from Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yes.
Oh
that's the Planet of the Apes stuff. And I think we're seeing here though what the brutal exterminators were raised to do, which initially was to kill, rape, whatever, until later we find out they were then had Arthur changed their mission somewhat. But right now here you're seeing them at their most basic.
Well, not just killing and raping, but it's Arthur Frayne is running an experiment in controlled genetics.
Yeah.
Only the exterminators can breed. And the
Right.
exterminators, Zed says, my father was chosen, his father was chosen.
That's right. They're the only ones that can breed and are even interested in sex anymore. This is inside the tabernacle, I believe. The major, the AI, the computer.
And just real quick, their lack of sexual drive is probably why they're stagnant. That's why they stay where they're at. I think that's a subtext in this whole show.
Yeah, that's Boorman
And how
says
they
one of
never
his main things in what his hypothesis is, what would a society that had achieved eternal life look like? And one of the things he concluded was that because they didn't need to procreate in order to continue to live, many parents will tell you that they live on through their children, kind of thing, right? That's their legacy into the future. Well, if you don't die, then you are your own legacy into the future, and therefore children don't serve a purpose, especially if your body can be reconstructed if it's somehow damaged.
Yeah, which these guys can do. Now, this is an interesting scene because this is where you see the brutal exterminators actually enslaving and controlling the other brutals in the Outlands to start farming, which wasn't what they did at the beginning. They just went around killing people in the world. This is a very different mission, and I think Zed at some point expresses some kind of disappointment in that they were used or manipulated. They like the hunt. They don't like being slave owners or of farmers, and they don't want the farming bit. But clearly, somebody had to grow the food. But I think we're supposed to assume we only see a small part of this, that the world is full of people like this. They're the guys we see there, the people are us in this dystopian future, the remnants of the normal population. The elites have all become the Eternals, and they've got these guys in the middle hired to keep them under control, the brutal exterminators.
Fun piece of trivia: the guy that Sean Connery shoots after he falls down, that's John Boorman.
Oh, is that Boorman?
Really?
This guy on the ground right now.
Little cameo in his own movie. That's cool. A la John Carpenter, huh?
He said give himself a clean cameo, then he's in the mud.
Yeah. And another fun fact, all that farmland was bought by Bill Gates.
Yes. And Monsanto.
He said even though Sean was shooting a blank, that some of the wadding actually embedded in his forehead, and it was it took years for it to migrate out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So now we get introduced to our female lead, who happens to be the controller of this vortex, Charlotte Rampling. Charlotte Dumpling. Rampling.
Stop it.
You're hurting me.
Rampling. Sheesh.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're reading his mind and seeing his memories, and they're not. They don't seem afraid at first. They seem intrigued.
Yeah. Well, they're very much wondering how he got there, for sure.
Well, they see some of his actions.
I got some bots. Hang on, I gotta bot it.
Oh, you do?
Thanks, Sentient Dildo and Lord Thoth. Thank you. I do appreciate you guys doing some modding for me. Thank you very much. It's nice to have mods. I need a producer as well, Darius. Sorry, did I say that out loud? So it's nice to see, and she's all right. However, she's not a big fan of Sean Connery's character.
No,
I think she wants to destroy him. She recognizes the disruptive nature of this guy, whereas May here, I think, is more intrigued by what can I get this guy to do? What can I find out from him? And so
they've never met a real man before.
No. And I like the bodies floating about in the background. They're similar to the ones on ZARDOZ itself. They're the replacement bodies for the Eternals when they need them.
What I think is also interesting about that scene is they're having that discussion where Consuela's arguing to get rid of this brutal, and May is arguing to keep it and study it. They're clearly having a strong, opinionated dispute, but yet their demeanor is completely devoid of any emotion at all. It's delivered completely flat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it implies that in this advanced society where everybody's become, super intellectual, they've lost touch with their core humanity, that, they have no desire for carnal pleasures. They have no emotions anymore. They're all just walking, talking computers in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't view him as human.
Yeah, and you're right. Their senses have been dulled despite their intellect and their they've got a good life.
Right. Or perhaps because of their intellect. Because, I read it as like an extreme extrapolation of academia. Right. And because at this time, that's where the hippies were. A lot of them was in, universities and stuff. So it's like that taken to the extreme. It would be because of their intellect that they've lost their humanity.
I think that may come later, Dildo, the pearl necklace.
Damn.
When they rediscovered their sexuality.
Yeah, I was fixing to say they got to find that first, don't they?
Yeah.
They're probably all shooting blanks at this point. Good Lord.
Yeah, at this point, Sean Connery's like, I prefer cream pie over necklaces.
Yeah,
your ancestors
watch his
like
memories like National Geographic.
Yeah, I know.
We all used to watch
nature, you scary.
So this is the scene, I think, where they confront him with his sexual activities, which are obviously of the brutal kind, and he gets the boner, which they've never seen for ever.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had to be very careful when I was doing these stills, but
Well, they have the diagram
sure.
like this.
I think the boner comes later. This is the first.
Oh, this is the first.
This is the first time
and there's a
they're
diagram
exploring.
of a boner, but it's
This is where
more
they're
like-
deciding what to do with him.
Yeah.
And then later,
Right.
when she
Yeah.
does the study is when they
And now
do a
we're
little
getting
bonerology.
friend there.
Right,
Friend
and
is-
men, what's stopping you from looking like this?
Yeah,
That you guys all seen that meme, right?
Work.
that's right. Yeah.
With the,
Friend was a
the
great
fashion.
character, man. I dig him. I dug him. I really did. I thought he was a great character. And I thought
Just
it was really awesome that he ended up being a renegade. I really thought it was cool. Yeah.
Well, Mark, we are wearing Zardoz outfits, but just below the waist, and of course you can't see that. So sorry.
Yeah, I'm wearing
This
the
scene-
fitting
Yeah,
of him.
YouTube requires us to wear something on our chests. So,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
This scene is a perfect example of what I was talking about, how all the men have been feminized.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Well, it looks like it's straight
Except
out of
for
Logan's
Connery.
Run.
Yeah.
Except
This
for
is
the,
right.
except what I really think is cool is they have unisex cod pieces. Look at
Yeah,
the,
yeah, you know,
even
I
the
hadn't
chicks have
noticed that.
flaps, you know. So
So they're actually
yeah,
they
the-
are intrigued by him, though. I mean, they are intrigued by him, and particularly the women.
I see what you mean about the Logan's Run connection with like the simple flowing pastel kind of roby
Yep.
things as the costumes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
see that.
To me, that makes it quite dated. You can tell it's a 1970s movie. when you see that.
you can straight off tell it's a 70s movie. Yep.
But
Now-
so far, for all its reputation that people didn't like it, I don't see anything that's not good here. When
Well,
you watch it.
I think most people that didn't like it is because there's so many ideas jammed into this movie that they couldn't understand what they were being shown.
Yeah, there is a lot here. Absolutely. Some
now
of
we
it, I had to watch it again just to catch some of the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we see a lot of the Eternals looking like today's SJW freaks with weird hairdos and.
Except they're a lot more attractive.
Yeah.
And none of them are fat.
And
Yeah.
you know,
No,
they're fat,
not one.
that's true.
They all need a burger. don't they?
Damn dirty hippies. There's
Now-
another Planet of the Apes.
Something we
Yeah.
didn't mention yet,
Right.
but it was important considering the budget of this film, is how all the effects were done in camera. None of it was done in post.
That's
So-
right.
The when Zed's looking at the computer displays, that's done by projecting 16 millimeter film onto a piece of glass that's in front of the camera.
Mhm.
And when they're in there reviewing Zed's memories, it's just a rear projection screen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
very
when he gets up to the force field, he's miming in the side shot,
Mm.
and then they put a piece of glass in front of him in the full frontal. When,
Yes.
when,
When-
he's,
Yep.
when,
when
he's
you
trying
get-
to get out.
When he gets the boner, it's a real boner.
that's right.
That's because your mother likes it.
Couldn't afford a CGI bonus, so we got the real
Single
thing.
best
I'm wi-
method acting by.
Yes,
anyone
I'm willing to
ever.
do that part myself. You don't need a stuntman.
Just put Charlotte Rampling in front of me.
That's right, Charlotte Dumpling.
Too good.
He had a reputation for wanting longer sex scenes when he was filming, apparently. He's a dirty man, very dirty man. But apparently Charlotte Rampling wanted that in this film, and he got it done in one take, and they didn't get what she was expecting was a bit more of a roll in the hay, but it didn't happen. It was, he let
The
her
apathetic
down.
got the roll in the hay, but he didn't find it appetizing.
Yeah, that's right. He's not into that. But here we see the remnants of this is going down into, and I think it's part of the tabernacle, and it's where they keep all the.
Now, this is the scene I was telling you about. Somebody said when I saw the movie years later, Slipstream with Mark Hamill, F. Murray Abraham, just great cast. When they go into that cliff world, that scene reminds me of this.
Yes,
If you've never
I
seen
see
that
what
sci-fi
you're-
film, Slipstream
I
is a good
see
90s
what
film.
you're talking about, mate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is like the
Yes,
remnants
more.
of culture, but the pieces
Yeah.
are disappearing one by one.
Well, this is supposed to be their, as the Eternals, they were the guardians of the human future, right? So they've gone around and collected all the world's art and put it in one place, and then it just sits
Yeah,
there.
you knew they
stored
had
up
to,
like a
Nobody
they
warehouse.
had to
looks
have
at
an
it.
archive somewhere. Yeah. There it
But
is.
it's not it's preserved but not appreciated. You notice
Right.
none of it is arranged for display for viewing. There's nobody in here except
No, this is like their
the friend.
storage shed.
Yeah, this is
basically,
just a
right?
warehouse.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I just wanted to say hello to our friend living in Japan. Gray, how are you, sir? Good to see you, mate. And thanks for joining us. I think it's early morning there, if I'm right in saying so. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so we're now starting to get a little deeper into the Eternals lifestyle.
And it looks like the porn bots are getting deeper into you.
Yeah, they've kind of enslaved, to a certain extent, Zed. I think they're using, I mean, he was locked up in a cage there, for God's sake, but now they're using him as some kind of serving guy, and I guess he's going along with it. I mean,
he's not serving yet. This is just, you're seeing their meal ceremony, if you will, but this is where May takes him off to the side. He hasn't been turned into a servant yet.
Yeah, she's got designs on him. This is the one bit that doesn't look good.
This is a bad effect right here. They did the best they could, but my gosh,
it's two mirrors propped up, and then he fakes being sucked into the vortex.
This is so bad.
Here I go.
It's like
it looks like he's about to hit a water slide, man.
On piece first. He's lost the boots, I notice.
Oh man, I hope he doesn't lose anything else. Oh my God,
and the
bandoliers too. Good Lord, watch out.
I hope they stapled that mankini on them there. Whatever it is.
So the budget on this movie was so low that in some of those big crowd scenes with the exterminators, the costumes were literally just painted onto the skin of the extras.
Oh my God!
Oh, right. See, this I always found funny. They've got this weird green bread. I mean, these are people in an advanced technological society. They could have anything they want. They're going to eat this weird green bread. I guess it's full of the grow-up stuff that they were growing.
Apparently not.
It's full of Soylent Green.
Soylent Green.
It's people.
It's people.
We know.
You don't give a shit.
That's the best part.
We don't care. It tastes great.
Do you think he literally got sucked into that thing, or do you think it was like allegorical in that, or just like a visual metaphor? Because he did lose the bandolier and the boots, and she's sort of psychically communicating with him.
So, in other words, is he really there, or is this a vision he's having?
Right.
Yeah, because she's got mental control of him. This is where you get some of the better boobs in the.
Yeah, I'm looking at those. Those are nice.
So now this whole business stuff,
there's something about 70s boobs, man.
How they have to prepare their own food, and they have to, they have to do all the work themselves and everything.
Yeah.
That right there it's freaking communism.
Mm-hmm. It's a commune.
And like I said, this is like another element that I don't think John Boorman realized he was putting in there. He just wanted to tell the story about a society that has eternal life. And there's all this other stuff that's just pulled into the movie because that's what he was around in the 70s, second wave feminism and equality and everything being done by democratic vote. And, everybody, getting back to the land and having your own hand and producing your own food and everything.
Yeah.
It's very weird how spot on to modern goofiness it is.
Interesting, because I wonder who knitted Friend's sweater there. They didn't do a very good job.
Would you call the movie accidentally based?
It is accidentally based, because I think it exposes a lot of things we've come to see have entered our society for the worse.
And yet in the 70s, the precursors and the signs were all there. All it needed was, an incessant pumping into the populace's brains via, educational outlets and news outlets and media outlets and even Hollywood itself.
What's interesting to me too is in like the 70s and even in the 80s, like you would see this kind of stuff in movies, but it was always portrayed as a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not good. Like, even though it was portrayed as very idyllic, there was something sinister underneath it, just like here. And it was one of those things that I think sooner or later people stopped seeing it as a warning and started seeing it as an instruction manual.
And matriarchal societies were always portrayed as being sinister at that time.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect society because humans are involved. And I think this film
like that.
goes there. It goes there. Even the humans that have been in the Eternals that are faced with what is apparently an idyllic life are not all into it. And here we start to see that. We start to see the divisions and what the powerful group in the Eternals do to those who disrupt it. Disrupt that society.
Yep.
This
they're
is
getting
where
rid
they
of-
send them. And now
That's
they
a
can't kill anyone because everyone's eternal. So what do? They age them. So
and
they
that's a
can't
common
enjoy
that's a
life.
common theme in 70s sci-fi too, is all of these quote unquote utopian societies that all have something very, very wrong with them underneath it that makes the whole thing work.
I like what Soul Assassin says here. Modern day politicians are just ZARDOZ fans who want to live like the movie. Yes, I think that is very true.
So they certainly caught on to the penis is evil line
Right.
and just ran
Indeed.
with it.
You must cut out the penis.
You know, those old guys like Schwab and Soros, they were already alive when this movie came out. They might have seen it in theaters.
Yeah, well, they've worn a lot of stupid costumes in their time, so maybe they're in it. But this is where he goes to. I love the fact he's got him pulling the cart,
The rickshaw.
and we don't yet know if Friend is a good guy or a bad guy or what his motivations are. He has motivations. We're just not entirely sure yet. But
He
I
is a
think
little
he's
bit of a dick.
Yeah, he is a dick. He's not necessarily a good guy, but he's showing him the apathetics here, the ones who just don't give a shit anymore, and have basically gone catatonic. So he's showing him that there are other aspects to this society.
And by showing him this, you can kind of tell that Friendly's got an agenda. He's teaching him for some reason. We don't know what it is yet, but he's definitely teaching him.
Now, did anyone get the feeling that that bread that they were putting in the oven and taking out was very phallic? It's this big, long, like braid of bread.
And green.
Well, yeah, and it's green, but the way they put it in that little hole to bake it, and then they take it out, right?
Yeah.
And then I
But
think he even like beats someone with it in this scene.
But doesn't everybody have a green penis? Am I the only one?
Get nodded.
Are you like you've never had baguettes before? I mean, it's just sometimes bread is just bread, man.
I've eaten them.
Gary, you were a medic. You might want to comment on that.
Well, I would say that it sounds like baguette.
I did find this whole bit fascinating because offered the chance to do anything he wants with this apathetic woman, Connery's offended by it. You'd rather have, like you've seen him earlier with what he did
want
on the
my
beach.
women apoplectic.
He'd rather wants them. Yeah, he'd rather have them fight than be apathetic.
Right? Yeah, she doesn't do anything or respond, and he loses interest immediately.
Yeah, he's offended by it that they're all apathetic.
Also in this scene, there's the parallel of what's going on with you're getting a glimpse into their judicial system.
Mm-hmm.
And Friend is saying, I'm voting for him, monster, but it won't do any good. It never does. And that is bureaucratic apatheticness, right? You're participating in this system, but it's pointless.
Yeah. Now here's the diagram, and now I'll go back to it. I believe, and I don't think I'll get.
So in this little
showing this as a drawing, I shouldn't get any problems showing this as a drawing, but I believe it was modelled off real life. I think Gary, you were the model for that drawing, were you not?
Maybe. It could be true.
It's a little large, but
oh wait, no. It's not circumcised. It's not me.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, and it is furry though.
It's just not a good drawing. How do you know? I mean,
little did we know at the time. This is exactly why Burt Reynolds was not cast. And
what you see here is the glands of the penis, which rests upon the scrotal sac, and it's of course surrounded by this beautiful bush of fire.
My wife just walked in here and she is seeing this picture on the screen going, what in the hell are you looking at?
That's right. Anyone that's just come in, this movie isn't necessarily about this. This is just one scene.
No.
So when she's giving this little speech where she's, explaining why they need to study the nature of arousal, essentially, it is 100% pure feminism. How it has, basically the penis has tortured men or tortured women and plagued men. And I'm just like, Jesus, without a freaking erect penis, nobody on this planet would be here.
And and I love how they do represent and show that the modern man, their modern man, is of course basically looks like a woman, dresses like a woman, acts like a woman.
They're essentially eunuchs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Men, what's stopping you from?
And they're
looking
still
like
working for this. They're still trying to get this.
So here's another good observation based on what you just said. Not only are the men portrayed as feminized or asexual, but all of the women are not buxom, right? Which is big boobs is a sign of female fertility. So not only are the men devoid of fertility and their visual aspect, but so are the women. They have narrow hips and small boobs.
And both genders really are stripped of everything that makes them either masculine or feminine, and they've just smashed it both together.
Everybody is depicted asexual. And in fact, the one apathetic that Zed is interested in is the one with bigger boobs.
And so the summary has been about this is that because they can live forever and there's no need to procreate, they've just lost interest in the whole thing, in sex. Or have they been suppressed? Maybe there's another suppression mechanism going on.
The mud wrestling.
I know. I had to cut,
that was funny.
To cut these quite carefully.
That was funny.
Right, and that line is the boner graph because they're scoping his bone.
Yeah, it's flatlined, right?
Him.
It's just flipping back and forth. Yeah.
Right, when they show him like the mud wrestling and the soapy boob grab, nothing happens.
He's like, man.
John Alderton laughing in the background. I think he was genuinely laughing there. The actor.
He's like, But then he looks at her and
Consuela's done the trick.
And that why I was waiting for this part to mention it, but I think that's why she wants him killed. She's feeling the primal stuff in herself because she's got the hots for him. So that's why she wants to kill him.
She's too repressed.
Well, she recognizes what a disruptive influence her own feelings would be if everyone was feeling that.
Yeah.
Hey, Rock fan, check the chat when you get a chance, the private chat.
Yeah, because Joe's got to go.
Oh, goodbye, Joe. You got to go. Mio Mayo.
Yeah, it's birthday stuff. I got to go to dinner with Foxy. So,
your place is here with us.
I know it is.
It's your birthday present from us to you.
I understand, sir. But
right. Well, I do very much appreciate you being here, sir. And I'm
yes. And any other time I would stay till the end of the stream, but 57 only happens once in your life, and I got to go do it. You know what I mean?
Stay to the end of the stream, you said?
Yeah. I listen to this. Oh my God.
Just don't cross the streams.
Don't cross the streams. Look, thank you for inviting me. I really hate the fact that I couldn't make your Creedence Clearwater Revival one. He actually invited me to that one, guys, and I couldn't make it. But I have cleared my schedule on Monday, so I'm here for you anytime you need me, sir.
Except for right now.
Yeah.
Except for right now.
Except for on my 57th birthday, yes.
We need
happy birthday again, Joe.
We need to get the link to your channel somewhere in the.
Oh yeah, sure. I can
in
do
the
that
chat. While we're doing that, I'm going to put you on the screen, and you can tell us all about what you're doing right now. And I know I've seen some of your art stuff, and you're doing some good stuff.
Yeah, you can see over my shoulder the comic books that were. The comic book work that I'm doing. Of course, that's what half of my channel is right now, is doing the sketch work on my comic book. What you see behind me is posters I'm going to have available at the GeekCon in Shreveport, Louisiana. It's Northwest Louisiana. It'll be at the Shreveport Convention Center. I printed those just for that event. You guys can come and pick them up there, 18th through the 21st or the 19th, excuse me. The 19th through the 21st at the Barkus and Meow crew. It's a Mardi Gras crew. Their little booth there at the Comic-Con. There's a big bunch of people coming to this thing, guys. My favorites that I'm looking forward to see is Michael Golden's one of the artists from the old Marvel days. He did the Micronauts and He did a book that I really dug called The Nam, about Vietnam. Really detailed artist. Of course, I'm an art guy, so I'm going to enjoy that more than anything. But the full male cast of the original Screen movie is going to be there, except for Arquette. And it should be a fun time. On my channel right now, I'm doing the sketch work for this. You can catch that. I just added Justifier Jim, a friend of mine that is a he's a creator just like me that lives in Maryland, and he's actually, I get concentrating on the drawing and I forget what I'm doing. So I figured I'd bring him in, and this weekend's streams, if you haven't checked them out, guys, check them out. We had a ball talking everything San Diego Comic-Con and stuff. So check that out. My brother and I, that he's been half the times when you see me giggling during this thing, it's my brother in the chat cracking me up. He and I do a talk show on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Central called The Brothers Hack the Matrix. And it's just about current events and all the stuff we love, sports and pop culture and stuff like that. So, yeah, come check out my channel whenever you get a chance, guys. And look, 70s, anytime you need me. I've reshuffled my schedule to where I am open on Mondays. So,
all right, mate.
You pick me up whenever you want to, buddy. I appreciate you guys. And thanks, hail to the chat, and thank you very much, guys. It was good to see you all.
Happy birthday, Joe.
Thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your birthday, and good to see you, man. Continue to age gracefully.
I will try, sir. It's hard to keep up with you, but I'm going to get there, hopefully, one day.
You can always make yourself a list of all the rock stars that you've outlived.
That's true. That's true. All right, guys, you be good and have. I'll be lurking.
I'm going to play you out here. There you go. He's gone. All right. Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it, mate. Enjoy the rest of your birthday, and you're going to miss some of the more disturbing scenes as Sean strips all of his clothing off by the end of the movie. Right. So, where were we? Oh yeah. So there are things
going into his mind.
She is. The mind powers are their main thing, I guess. They don't seem particularly violent or capable of violence in other ways, although later on I think we see that changes as their bestial nature comes back.
There's a weird thing that showed up when they went to the bakery, which is that Friend and the other Eternals are talking to each other in a weird, like, shorthand language that is incomprehensible to the audience and to Zed.
Yeah.
And that's never explained or elaborated on later. Like later, everybody continues to talk normally amongst each other, all the Eternals. So I think that was just kind of
they've got a
little thing to throw in and be like, look, it's the future.
Yeah. Now, what is May? I'm not entirely sure of May's motivation at this point.
Well, earlier, Consuela says that May was arguing for new births, even though their population was stable and they had no need for new births.
She's wanting to get back into the procreation game. And Sean's serving up his plums there.
Potatoes.
Have a look at my plums. How do you like them apples?
Look quite magnificent, aren't they?
Yes or no?
This is where we really see the divisions that start to come within these people, and also the very SJW way they act together.
Mm-hmm. This is where Zed is being used as a servant.
Yes, that's a bit, yeah.
Because the argument starts by Consuela saying it's Friend's turn to do the cooking, and he's having Zed do it.
Right, right. And she says, no, we all, take our turn doing the work. And that's,
that's
how
the egalitarian, communistic, hippie ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. They all do their own work. And I forget how she phrases it, but it's how they maintain equality, that everyone has to pull their own weight.
Yeah. She says it's essential to the organization of their society that everybody do their own share.
Which, again, is very communist commune.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. And
Friend's basically saying, after 200 years, I'm tired of doing all the washing up. Let somebody else do it for a change.
I'm sick of your shit. And he does say here that he knows what May's up to.
That's right.
Yeah. Which does you still don't know whether your friend is an ally to Zed or a user of Zed or whether he's just along for the ride. But this is where they do their number on him.
I think it's ultimately some of each.
Yeah, they really combine together with the mind powers.
Struggle session.
It's a struggle session. That's it. Yeah, and they're canceling him.
They are. They literally are.
Well, the joining into second level meditation where their minds all come together. That's,
groupthink.
The communist confession session where everybody comes together and everybody has to confess something.
Yeah, it's a complete loss of individuality, and he's had enough of it, I think, after 200 years, 300 years.
Right, even the Catholics do it one at a time.
Yeah.
The individual way.
Indeed. And then Zed goes up and checks him out. Yeah. Because he's not really dead.
No.
What I find interesting about that scene is at the end of it, after they, effectively punish him by declaring him to be renegade, then they all immediately lapse into navel gazing where they all commune with each other in some meditative event and they just zombie out and Zed is able to do whatever he wants.
That's right. Nobody's watching him. Yeah. And now we find out he is communicating with his brethren.
And that aspect of them completely zoning out, I swear to God, that is SJWs right there. When confronted with something that they don't reconcile with their mode of reality, they just become completely inward looking and deny everything outside their own senses.
And they protect their tweets.
They do.
They retreat and go into an inner navel gazing kind of mode where it's just, I'm back in my echo chamber and it's safe inside and I'm in my egg again.
They will walk out of the room and go and find others who think their way. So now we get the renegades, who of course always been aged as punishment. And we also get the important information from Friend that the guy who invented the immortality part of this is still here and is alive. But he wants the one thing that that he prevented from happening. He wants to die. The one thing they want, they can't get.
Right. Yeah, they're playing God. And he was the one who cracked the code on eternal life.
Which I found was fascinating. He gives them what they wanted, and now they want to die.
Right.
And he can't even die.
In, Highlander, who wants to live forever.
Yeah. Yep. I love how he gets the walking stick thing, the crutch. That's how you're going to beat a bunch of old people up. And yet they seem to overpower him fairly easily, I think. I guess because they've got still got some mental powers.
Yeah, and then his face is only half old.
I think that's the lack of makeup, really. The makeup guy was busy.
Bad prosthetics.
Bad prosthetics, yeah.
You think it was so that we would still recognize him?
I think it's kind of supposed to be representative.
That's a good point. That may very well be why.
I think it's kind of supposed to be representative that while they, made him renegade, he's not completely senile and gone, so he's still able to help Zed. Whereas the other people in there are just completely bonkers and out of it.
Oh, they're Looney Tunes, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're back to where you can see them meditating under their shrouds, basically ignoring him.
Yeah. Yeah. With her
could
hippie
just blow the place up right now and they wouldn't know.
Yeah, no, I like that about the scene because she's just wrapped in it, and then he comes up. It's very hippie style.
It is.
She just puts it over his head and communicates with him telepathically, and then it's very subtle. While she's probing his mind, she gets her tits out.
She does, and I had to cut
Very
some of that out. But she does want to get. Her urges are being reawakened.
Yeah.
And now we see
flashback.
Now we see Glasgow on a Saturday night. Or is it Portland? I don't know. It's one of them.
Either or.
San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. Actually, it's probably closer to Chicago, I would think.
Not enough gunshots.
Not enough gunshots, yeah.
So is this
So
before the farming, right? This is pre-farming period.
And this still right here, the sign by the car says violators will be shot, and there's a dead guy on the car.
I think what we're seeing here is what's meant to be the remnants of the pre-post-apocalyptic events, if I could use such a convoluted term. This is some kind of reception center or somewhere where people were hiding out or whatever. And eventually, of course, it fell apart completely. It's a bit of a Fallout New Vegas type.
Yeah,
building.
I see
it's
that.
very Fallout, this piece.
I think it's supposed to be implied that there was an ecological collapse, not necessarily something like, nuclear war.
Yeah, this is where we do get the reveals. This is when they start to reveal what's going on.
And I was really glad he didn't kill the kid, because Slash and I were worried. We saw the kid in the window, and he goes in that, the kid that he was gonna kill the kid. Thankfully, he doesn't.
Yeah, and in fact, you don't see any children. You don't see any children in this, I don't think, in this movie. Can't recall.
In the window, there was a kid, right?
That's the only kid, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so we know that he has been manipulated by, and we find out it's Arthur Frayne, to learn to read. Because he's been given a higher intellect than his compatriots, so he's learning to read. He reads all the books in the library, you see, all that knowledge. So he is greater. He is greater than them. He is greater than the Eternals. He's been bred to be. And then,
well, it's sort of so he was from the brutes, right? But it was, for the other analogy, like the anti-cop analogy, it was educating himself that elevated him above that. But that's not where it ends, right? Because once he enters the vortex, well, it picks up the other end. So it does kind of do a zigzag, or his character arc has kind of a zigzag in it.
Yeah, because there's these pieces where they're exploring his mind are used to do the flashbacks, so that we get exposition to figure out how he got where he was and why he's actually smarter than he should be, and what the eventual purpose of those manipulating him is. So this is where she's starting to really get it on with him, kind of.
Yeah, right. He isn't.
He's resisting. I don't like freckles. Not the ginger.
Yeah, every time it cuts back to her with her hands on his head, she has less clothing on.
Yeah, and I have had to cut a lot of scenes out of this movie. Yeah.
Hey, now that looks like Machete.
It does, doesn't it?
It does look like a very young Danny Trejo, yeah.
Yeah. It's the Irish machete. It's shillelagh. And now we get the obvious pun title, etc. The man behind the curtain. ZARDOZ.
Was this when the reveal was? I thought that came later.
Nope, that's the reveal.
Yeah, you almost start to think it's the Bible, right? You're like, what is the book? What is the book? That one book. You think it's the Bible, but it turns out to be...
I must admit, I'm not quite sure why that book was picked, other than for the opportunity to have an obvious pun and the fact it's about a scary man behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like Sean's statement here of Zed is the Quetzalcoatl Haderach.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of that concept going around the.
Nobody stacks books like that. Oh, except for in ZARDOZ.
Hang on. Sorry, Pope, you were saying?
I mean, there's a lot of that going around in sci-fi of the era, is kind of transcendent humanity and what we can become.
Yeah.
Because Frank Herbert leaned heavily into that with Dune.
For sure. Oh, yeah. So when Consuela finds him, she's like, What's all this then? And they have that psychic battle with the
They
sheet.
do, but I get the feeling it's two chicks fighting over a hot guy.
Yeah, kind of is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly how it came across.
Yeah, even though Consuelo still wants to destroy him, she was, me, you get off my man, get off my guy.
That tug of war is very stylized, right? Because it's sort of like it's like a mental fight, but they're just pulling on the sheet.
That's the first time we get a true indication that Sean is more powerful than the Eternals, because previously he was whipsawed around by their mind powers as, clearly under their control. And then as May digs into his memories about how he was, selectively bred and how he, came to read so quickly and learned all these things so rapidly, she realizes that his mental powers are greater than theirs, and that his physical strength is greater than theirs, that he's superior to them in every way.
Right, because we already knew he had physical power.
Consuela, you begin to see that he can withstand their mental dominance, and you can see the look of fear on Consuelo's face as she realizes that she can't control him.
Yeah, so now he must be destroyed. She can't control him. But I think you also see them doing something they haven't done before, the two of them, fighting in a more animalistic way, which is not something they've had to do for centuries.
Yes, you can clearly see that's Zed's influence. He's bringing primal behavior back into this society that's become so sterilized and, just reduced to a bunch of quibbling academics.
So you can see this shot here, which is exactly what I looked like when I went to school.
I was just going to say, is that what you look like?
This is what Scottish school children
he's
look
a
like.
wee ginger.
In my era, that's what we looked like. Dirty, bedraggled.
Is that you?
Heard of a bath?
No, it could be me. I could be this guy here. So for Sean, I'm going to say it's Consuela.
So this is where they don't say exactly what the calamity is that befalls the rest of the world, but it's implied that it's some kind of ecological collapse and that everybody is basically reduced to starvation, and they're basically standing at the wall of the vortex looking in at these people living in a land of plenty while they starve, and they can't do anything about it. And that's they explain, well, this is why we are so detached from the concerns of ordinary people, is because we had to, in order to psychologically survive that situation, we had to become hard to all those people standing right there starving in front of us.
Yep, which is what the elites do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why they remain elites. So it's very prescient, I think. But yeah, he's finally figured out how to get these guys in here, but then the other bunch are off on horses too. Consuela and co. I guess the hunt is on for Zed, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. They need to hunt him down.
Right. And so that's the point where it kind of flips and Consuela becomes the hunter.
Yeah, which is, again, not in their nature, we thought, but perhaps the bestial is under the surface closer than we think, even in the most orderly society.
Right. In trying to get rid of him, she became him.
Yes. Well, I think she says that out later as well.
Oh, yeah, I think she does say that.
She does say that later. In fact, I've got that clip. I will play that clip. We haven't reached it yet, but it's one of the clips.
But you realize that even before she says it, when you see her like chasing him down on horseback.
Yeah. But now he's waking up something in the apathetics.
Well, everything that Consuela said in the very beginning about how his presence there was disruptive influence and was going to upset the balance of their society. That's all coming true.
Indeed. Now we see my favorite kind of magic, lesbomancy.
Right. It partially comes true because she makes it come true. Yeah. And so this is like the most sentient dildo scene in the movie, right? Where he's
in there somewhere.
He's awakening.
Oh my God.
He their is lust for life.
Dildo.
Yeah, he is.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He awakens their lust.
Bloody Vermeer. They do look like Vermeer paintings. The women in the apathetics. That's what they look like. Vermeers.
Oh yeah, Jan Vermeer. Yeah.
Yeah, they do look like those, and that could be deliberate. I mean, it's who knows.
Could just be budget.
But so he's gone from one bunch of Eternals trying to kill him to another bunch trying to grope him to death.
Death by Snoo Snoo.
It reminds me of that line from Army of Darkness. First you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me.
Death by Umbongo. The old joke. So this is where the kind of things start to get a bit falling apart because various groups are running around killing each other or trying to. And
this is where he it's his second visit to the Renegades where he learns that the creator is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they hatch the plan, and now he's running around with the Renegades. They've got him disguised as a bride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look at he's given them a hope that they can get what they want, which is to destroy this bloody thing and somehow get death.
Do you think that's the symbolism of the wedding dress?
Well, it could be. He's the bride of death.
Yeah.
We want to die. What's a trick?
So everyone makes a big deal about the red nappy that he was wearing, but he's wearing a wedding dress here. Sean's wearing a wedding dress. That's very...
You've been a naughty, naughty girl.
Very naughty boy.
But he's also wearing it as he keeps his promise. You know, he keeps his vow to you know, to the Renegades.
Yeah, and Friend is now literally his friend. He's on the same... Friend knows that he can rely on Zed, and Zed's on his side. But now they're all stalking about looking for him.
Right.
This is where that weird mind control trick happens.
Yeah. I'm not sure why May wants to kill him, though. Is it because Consuela's into him now?
No, she wants him because she wants his seed, and Consuela wants to kill him.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, pointing a gun at him's not a good idea to get his seed.
Well, she figures I'm going to have to get this seed out of him by force.
Mm.
Kinky.
She only had to
It's
ask.
called rape.
Yeah.
Where do I stick this gun? She said.
Right, but he's not intimidated by it at all.
Now, Consuela's definitely trying to get in here to kill him, though, at this point. And then we get all the bizarre visuals. There's a lot of bizarre visuals in this part of the
Well, it's like a
movie.
Montage. As I rewatched this, there were two parts of the movie that were slow, and this visual teaching moment, teach by osmosis thing, I felt kind of dragged on a little bit. And there was another sequence where they were like in second level meditation or something, and there's just not really much going on. It kind of dragged on.
This is the LSD influence stuff.
Oh yeah, I actually really like this part, right? Because it's like a visual condensation of basically downloading all of their accumulated knowledge into him. So he's already read all the books in that library, and now he's getting the full download from like the archives, because the archive houses all of their knowledge.
Tabernacle, I think it's a tabernacle. Tabernacle's a French Quebec insult. Tabernacle is, it's giving
I
him
like the idea, and the visual effect is fine. I just felt it went on a little bit too long, like maybe 30 seconds too long.
It does.
And I'm assuming this is all, as was explained earlier, is all projection. It's all projectors doing all that, and so again, a lot of practical effects and filming rather than any digital. There's very little digital trickery of any kind.
Everything was practical.
Yeah,
there wasn't even anything done in post. It was all done in camera on
There's
set.
a couple of matte shots, I think, at various points.
I don't even think there were matte shots.
I thought there might have been when they first see the head down by the mansion when it first arrives from the distance, from a distance
over the head.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of them, but not many.
I think that was also done by filming the head in isolation and projecting it onto a piece of glass and then filming it all together.
So it's done that way. Yeah, not a matte. Okay.
Yeah.
So they used that in 2001, of course. to do things, and it is the same cinematographer,
Mhm.
same DP, and they used that for the
Dawn of Man?
on the shuttle when there was it a phone was rotating in the air.
Oh yeah.
That was projected onto glass, I think, wasn't it? You just couldn't see the glass, but so this is the inserting the crystal into the clone to revive it. So he sees how all that's done.
Right there.
Yeah, transhumanism. He's learning about all the things that they do to sustain the society. I still don't entirely understand whether Tabernacle, which is the AI computer, the archive is the one. If they created it, humans, and then gave it all that information, or whether it's actually running anything and controlling the humans at this point.
I thought it was.
It was a pin, and the way they did it was they glued the pin. It wasn't projected; it was glued onto a piece of glass that rotated.
Yeah, I got to stop this bit because I do have a couple of clips that are in the next.
So the Tabernacle is an example of what they call emergent AI, where the idea is that if you just amass enough information and link it together sufficiently, that artificial intelligence will simply become an emergent property of the system. It's the same theory of how biological intelligence evolved.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same idea that if enough information is stored and cross-linked together, and eventually some kind of intelligence simply emerges as a property of that system.
Like in Ghost in the Shell, when it arises from the net.
And that is one of the things I like about the ideas in this. It's got things like artificial intelligence, immortality, mind powers, transhumanism, cloning, reincarnation, in effect, using the cloning. It's got all these concepts in there, which if you watched it superficially, you wouldn't see that. You would just see a lot of people running about in weird costumes. So it's not a masterpiece, but those ideas are in there, and I think I've grown to appreciate that more over the years. So I just want to play a couple of quick video clips, which I think I can get away with without copyright problems, as I did upload them to private earlier. So let's see.
What do you see in the ball?
Consuela.
Ache for this moment.
You cannot. You will not. The hunt is always better than the kill.
In hunting you, I have become you. I have destroyed what I set out to defend.
He who fights too long against dragons becomes a dragon himself.
So we're just about to get to that point here. Yeah, well, indeed, because he's read all those books. And there's another clip which does pertain to that just a little later. So we're going through that sequence in this.
Your aim is to destroy me, isn't it?
Yes.
Would you kill God?
Such vanity.
I am the sum of all these people and all their knowledge. I am all-seeing. I am everywhere and nowhere. That has often served as a definition of God. Would you destroy us and all that we are?
Yes.
So you get a couple of critical scenes in this area where Consuela I guess she fell for him before, but she was still trying to kill him as the leader of the Vortex. That seemed to be rather sudden. Yeah,
it's a thin line between love and hate.
Yeah, I guess she sees him with the crystal and the ball, and realizes that he is more than they are, and gives in to her feelings. She searched her feelings. Yeah. And he's a bit of a hunk.
Well, and it's while he's downloading all of their knowledge that she's, hunting him down. So they're kind of becoming like each other.
Yeah, and she tells the others, he's not in here. Go away. Go look somewhere else. So saves them now. And now the return of Arthur Frine, used car dealer, Epping.
Well, you skipped over something in the exchange with Consuelo, which is that Zed says, you've given me something that no one has ever given me before, love.
Yeah.
And
I tried to limit the amount I clipped in case I got...
Well, no, I just mean like that right there shows how not only are they changing due to Zed's influence, but Zed is changing due to their influence on him, what he's learned about the tabernacle and everything else. He's transcending the Zed who arrived as a simple exterminator.
Yeah, exactly. And he now has other motivations, which is to, in effect, liberate these people in the ways that they wish to be liberated, whilst destroying the barriers that have been set up using this system.
Every time I read about criticisms of this movie, it generally comes down to that this movie has too many ideas it tries to present at once, and people either get confused because there's just so much going on, or because there's so many ideas, they're not presented fully enough to be, have exposition in a clear manner that really resonates with a lot of people. Like, the people resonate with individual ideas as they come and go, but there's just so many things that you're presented with, it's hard to assimilate it all. But
yeah,
that was
it's like serving the movie. It's like serving mulligan stew instead of a steak.
There's no time for extrapolation of the ideas because they come at you thick and fast at certain points.
Giggity.
Giggity. And this section I like, though, the whole, with the learning he's got, his ability to understand what the crystal is and where the tabernacle is and the properties of the crystal, and the fact it can store unlimited data through light, what's the word? Fracturing, not
refracted light patterns.
Refracted light patterns, that's it, yeah. So showing that his intelligence now is way above where it started.
And that's a pretty high idea for the 1970s. That's quantum computing.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah.
Like three-dimensional hard drives.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of Barbarella in this, yeah. I mean, it's with some of the boobs and the costumes and the whatever. I think Barbarella is way more campy because other than the costume he wears, there's nothing, and that's not even camp really. There's nothing camp in this movie particularly, I don't think. It does have the boobs though.
I find people, when they talk about campiness in movies, they've gotten away from what campiness actually is, and they just describe any movie that appears to have cheap effects or wimpy costumes or sets that are a little wobbly or whatever. Oh, it's so campy, and it's like that's not what camp is.
It's not what it is. No, it's much more based around a kind of a fun sexuality with a little bit of risque humor.
And I've heard people describe like Star Trek TOS as campy. I'm almost like, that's
no,
what that word means.
Not at all. 100% fail on that.
Definitely
analysis.
not. No.
That's what I'm getting at when I say people they use the word camp, but they don't actually know what the fuck it means.
Yeah, they're thinking more like Batman 66.
They're thinking cartoony
or Rocky Horror. Rocky Horror is definitely camp.
It's definitely camp.
Oh
yeah.
When you've got your tongue planted in your cheek and you're writing, you're being campy.
If you've got your tongue planted in someone else's cheek,
now that's just
that's camp.
Yeah, that's just different. Yeah,
that's monkeypox.
That's it depends which cheek we're talking.
Oh, you've been seeing that news, monkeypox.
Let's get
this
started
is the
on
other.
Because it's. Yeah.
This is another sequence I thought just kind of dragged on a little bit. When Zed is in the mirrors confronting his own image.
I don't think it really worked that well. I didn't have any tension in it. There was no real tension in it.
I think it's because of the length of the scene, and if they had cut it more quickly to make it more, bang, 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 kind of, visually arranged, I think and shortened the length a little bit, I think it would have had more impact.
Mm-hmm.
If it had just been quick cuts up until the point where he shoots his mirror image and then hold on that, then I think it would have been, would have raised the tension and then gotten to a climactic moment.
Yeah. And they're all trying to get to climactic moments, apparently.
Uh-huh.
Especially May and her followers that want his seed.
That's right. This man's going to be busy. Giggity. But this is where the movie did fall down in some of the editing choices and some of the exposition choices. Some bits were rushed, some bits were too slow. I think a more careful editing might have worked. But it's still not the bad film that many people took it to be.
No.
I don't think. I think it's way better than it's given credit for at the time. I mean, even the stories at the time where people would go into the cinema to see it, come out and tell people lining up to go and see it, don't go in, don't watch it. It's terrible. And it kind of killed it. Word of mouth kind of killed it off, which is a bit of a shame. But I think some of Connery's performance is excellent.
Yes.
I think. I actually do like Friend, John Alderton's performance. I think it's really good too.
I liked him too, and I wish we'd gotten a little bit more of Arthur Frayne. I liked his jovial, kind of always cracking jokes kind of thing. But we see him in the very beginning, and then in a little bit in flashback, and then at the very end. And I kind of wish we'd gotten a little bit more of him in the last third.
Yeah.
I think he would have made he makes a good foil for Friend always being so melancholy and serious and
cynical,
depressing, and Arthur Frayne always cracking jokes and making puns. There's a little bit of it at the very end where he's, Friend says, "We've been used," and Frayne says, "And reused, and abused, and amused."
Yeah. And we do find out that Frayne is the guy that's been driving an awful lot of this in order to, he didn't like what was happening with the Brutals. He didn't like a lot of the other stuff. So he's been working for a long time to introduce an element that would change this. And Zed is the element.
My favorite line in the movie where Frayne says, "I bred you, I led you." And Zed says, "And I've looked into the face of the force that put those ideas in your mind, and you have been bred and led yourself."
That's right. He sees right through the whole thing. Yeah.
Which implies that the tabernacle had its own death wish.
Well, it did.
Inexpertly, I was trying to get at that earlier. What is the motivation of the tabernacle? Is it ruling? Does it want to rule? Has it a plan? Is it motivated to do something?
Right, because it tells him that it can't do anything that will lead to its own destruction, right? But he's able to negotiate it with it so that it reveals how to destroy it. So it wants to be destroyed, but it is prevented from causing it.
Yeah, which is quite normal in a machine like that. You would imagine in an advanced computer, if it had been built that way, it would have been built to try and protect itself from self-harm, but it wants to die.
That's the
so does that imply that even the tabernacle realizes that the system of the vortexes is a dead end and has to be destroyed for humanity to go to the next level, so to speak?
I think it's a great way of putting it, a dead end. This whole thing is a dead end for everybody. And it's going nowhere. There's no development. There's not even any regression. It's just static. Now I'm trying to figure out remind me again what this woman was doing in the middle of the pond.
She's the the psychic one that has all the psychic insights, and she made a deal with Zed that he would exterminate her when the time came, and then Zed has transcended being an exterminator, and says, all that I was is gone. He can't do it. But by this point, the other exterminators have, made their way inside the vortex, and one of them does the job for him.
Yeah, they're wreaking havoc. And a lot of these people wanted to die anyway, so they're kind of getting their wish fulfilled.
Oh, yeah, they're all begging for it in the end. Kill me too. I want to die.
And I guess they had to build in some kind of action at the end of the movie. And it does get a little confusing.
Only to the smooth brains.
And then the giant
seriously,
condom...
when I first saw this movie in the theater, probably like 78 or 79, and I saw it with all my friends, and I literally followed everything that was going on in this movie. And I came out of it and I was like, this movie was freaking awesome. And all my friends I didn't understand one single thing I saw.
And they went, you're not with us anymore. Not one of us. We're going to level 2 meditation. You're staying. Yeah. So this is where the giant condoms explode.
Yeah.
They were filled with hydrogen, obviously.
Oh yeah, it's some of those the plants they were hanging in those plastic sacks. They look like nut sacks.
They do.
I don't think that was intentional.
Yeah.
Just that Boorman in the commentary says that he, came across this company that made these plastic inflatables. And in the ones that look like nut sacks is because to keep them from, flapping around on the set, they put some liquid in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And they're suspended by a wire down the center. So it's pulling up the center and the water is pooling on the sides, and it looks like 2 nuts hanging down. That's all.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess
it's with the nuts. It always comes back to the nuts.
That's what Gary tells me.
See, there was a fine pair.
This is the only buxom girl in this whole movie, and she's the one that Zed went for.
We didn't get to see enough of her.
No.
That was the best scene in the whole movie, right there.
Her death.
Oh, the Dead Boob Society.
Go back to it, dude. That was really a good scene. That should be
we have a necrophiliac amongst us.
We should hold that scene for 5 minutes. It's so good.
It has such dramatic tension.
Gary doesn't know it, but he's been inducted into the Dead Boob Society.
The Dead Boob Society. There's definitely some kind of tension on the fabric.
The question is, Gary, after, for 5 minutes, what are you going to do with the other 4 minutes and 45 seconds?
Excalibur.
That's right.
In the immortal words of Peg Bundy, 5 minutes, what are you going to do it to me twice?
Just waiting for it to get to that bit again. It's I don't want to manipulate it and lose
Here's
it.
where they die laughing together.
Yeah. So what's going to happen after all this, though? Is that the vortex is all freed, opened up? Everyone will just be able to wander around, do what they want. Things will revert a bit to anarchy again, I would imagine. But at least the brutals will be free somewhat.
Will they? The exterminators aren't gone.
No, but then they might fight back against them now. Who knows?
The question is, can they?
Or it could just be a nihilistic ending that this is really just the end of everything. Eventually.
Well, at the end, after the exterminators invade the vortex, they're searching for Zed and they can't find him, and it implies that even the exterminators are now left adrift with no one to guide them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And some of them might perhaps decide being exterminating isn't the career that they wanted after all.
Maybe they'll start the next vortex.
They might do poetry, perhaps, or,
discuss they sell those farms out there, right?
They may discuss political philosophy.
Yep.
Have you seen enough boobs now, Gary?
I love this scene so much. That's
so
beautifully shot.
It's a wrap.
It's like a landscape painting with amazing peaks.
It's a wrap.
Go ahead.
It's barely a wrap.
Yeah, barely a
she
rep,
was
that's right.
the best built one in the whole cast. So, but that's the problem with art house.
That knot is
art
doing
house
so much
boobs. They're
work right
always
now.
art house boobs are always non-existent.
Like, that knot is doing so much work in this scene.
I like Soul Assassin's comment. Where's Office Girl when you need her?
So, we only have one scene left after this, right?
Yeah, it's getting near the end. May and so May is impregnated.
Yeah, that's right.
She is impregnated with Zed's seed, so they escape and they'll probably. I mean, it's a big empty world. They'll find somewhere to go and hide. They won't be exterminated, but they'll all start having sex and having kids again.
Okay, because even though I just watched it again, like we said, the movie's very dense, so I still miss some of those details, like her escaping. I wonder what became of all the women that accepted Zed's seed that he just gave them. So they escape.
Well, what's very quickly escaping on horseback. Yeah.
Yeah. What's going to happen is he's going to have an awful lot of child support payments to make, and he's going to get really pissed off and wish he'd destroyed everything.
Well, if he didn't hide out.
Yes, and that's why the penis is bad.
It's very true.
It's not bad. It's evil. The penis is evil.
It's evil.
The gun is
shoots
good.
Seed.
All right. Yeah. So that's why he's hiding in the cave after this, right? Because he's dodging the child support payments.
Yeah, another current day leftist trope, which is the penis is evil because it causes life, which ruins the earth. We must purify the earth of. This is where Sean Connery got pissed off because he had to do this stuff 3 times because it got ruined the first 2 times, and he got really angry and apparently almost threatened to wallop the cameraman.
You can see how angry he is.
Yes. Because they fucked it up. They exposed the film and they had to do it again, and he was not happy because it took hours to do this.
Oh, you skipped the shot where Charlotte Rampling is nursing some random baby.
I did, yes.
We were wondering, is that a real baby? Did they get a real baby and just put it right there on her boob?
Probably. This borrowed one. I like the revolver in the background. His revolver.
I was just going to say, when I rewatched this, I was like, oh, that's the revolver. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Which is interesting that it will outlast them all.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he hangs it up because he doesn't need to use it anymore.
But the gun will outlast them all.
The other thing
and now we're looking at Gary. This is Gary here. Gary, you look like this.
The other thing I noticed when watching this scene again was when the son gets up to leave, Consuelo reaches out to hold him back, and Zed grabs her hand and instead and lets it's like the mothering instinct doesn't want the younglings to leave the nest.
Yeah, but she and others of her eternal backgrounds would never have experienced children being around for centuries. So
right, and the gun is still there. I didn't even notice that before.
Those are John Boorman's handprints, by the way.
Oh. So of course it's like a cave painting, but it gives you the feeling that humanity is resetting. But then the gun is left behind, and by this time it's all rusted. So the son doesn't take the gun when he goes back out into the world, where you still have whatever became of the exterminators and whatever became of
where would you get the bullets?
We don't know that he went back out to the world. He might just have
gone the odds are there was a hole out there and he fell to his death. So
he might have just gone for a piss.
He's a klutzy kid, really klutzy.
You do like all the artsy aging scene, and then he walks off, and like 2 seconds later, you just hear a gunshot.
Yeah, it's the Monty Python ending.
Yeah, he said, fuck this sitting around shit. I'm playing some Xbox, and he got up and left.
Right. It gives the visual sense that they just sat there and never moved for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I know. They just sat there and died.
They died of a sore arse from sitting there. So, Imperatus, my friend, I don't know if we've heard an awful lot from you. What's your feeling as a cynic about this movie?
I wouldn't call myself a cynic, but
I would, though.
Fair enough.
You're awful quiet, though.
I said earlier, I couldn't even get a half hour into the movie. I just gave up.
Yeah,
and I'm known to watch, bad movies of various stripes. kaiju movies, kung fu movies, whatever. That I like some of Roger Corman's movies.
That's the problem. This wasn't a bad movie. That's why you couldn't stand it.
Yeah,
maybe that's it. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I mean,
you watched it for half an hour. At what point did you say, you know what, I'm done with this? What was the scene?
Maybe it wasn't even a half hour. It's hard to say. I think it was right around when he shot the guy with a fake mustache in the arm.
Oh, that's not even.
That's like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it's like 5 minutes. It's not
it
even
felt
10.
like half an hour though.
Yeah, just the movie's just not for me.
But now you've been through this ordeal of listening to us talking about it and watching those stills.
I may go back and try again.
What are your other impressions?
It definitely had a lot. I was about to say thanks for throwing that up full screen.
Oh, sorry, remove that.
It does have a lot of interesting ideas, and I am a fan of Boorman's work. I love Excalibur. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But there's a lot going on. I just, as you said, I don't think they had enough runtime to fully explore things out and kind of give a coherent thought process of what they were trying to go on with. A lot of it seemed very rushed in some ways.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I mean, it was low budget, as we pointed out earlier. That was, even in those days, $1 million was not a big budget. As you said, Roger Corman, half of his movies had bigger budgets than that. Although they had usually a lot more large-breasted chicks and cars in them. But
God bless you for that.
Oh, Roger Corman. He's still around, isn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
I believe he's still alive. But hey, a man that started Jack Nicholson's career, amongst others, many other
it's proof again that Roger Corman is Satan.
He is the good Satan.
There's no one to make a deal with. He is the devil.
Yeah.
Holy crap, he's 96.
Yeah,
he's still alive and kicking, yeah. American International Pictures. He made some good shit. But this is a great cover of a film magazine, which I just love looking at these because you can actually see what else is out at the time. The Dick Lester's Three Musketeers, Westworld, Papillon, Serpico, McHugh, and Herbie Rides Again. So it's quite
on the cover they put Sean Connery's Bandito movie, porn.
Yes.
See what else is out. You mean his bulge?
His bulge is out. Yeah.
It's the passage of the bulge.
Don't you think it's better that he has a bulge than he doesn't have one?
That's very true.
Oh, that's a big part of the movie.
He's got that kind of big mic thing going on there, you know. But this clearly is a fake magazine because it says women directors. So this can't be real.
Yeah, that never happened.
Yeah, that didn't happen until like 2015.
Yeah,
I want that in the back.
Yeah.
Women didn't exist in the 70s. They weren't around until like what, the 2010s?
There was no. The women were in movies, but not in real life.
No,
they didn't make decisions yet.
Yeah.
Women were given birth to by feminism.
They hadn't yet been imbued with the gift of sound.
I think the year that Virginia Slims came about is the year that they first landed on the planet.
Now, 70s, that description of the Eternals and the Vortex, it kind of reminded me of Atlas Shrugged, do you think? Of how all of the scientists and intellectuals came together to form this closed society.
Yeah.
Yeah, except with them it was actually like the libertarians and the real individualists, whereas this is the exact opposite.
Right. It's a different interpretation of a similar concept.
Yeah.
Friend explains that it's the rich, the wealthy, the powerful, and the clever.
Okay. The clever being the scientists and intellectuals.
It's not purely a group of scientists and intellectuals, but they're obviously present. But it's also implied that, like, you know, any old fuck with enough money could get in there.
Yeah.
So, just before we show a little more of that, I'm going to show you a bust. I have a picture of a really good bust I'm going to show you.
You know, something we didn't mention, or maybe you mentioned it while I was...
You need to enlarge that.
Oh,
Engorge it. You need to engorge it.
Enhance.
The last time Gary showed a bust on YouTube, he got a strike.
Yeah, that's
Indeed.
right.
Well,
that is
best
the
bust
sculpture
you're
I
gonna
did
get
of
today.
Sean Connery.
So
Nice.
tell us about this, Gary.
About 20 years ago, I sat down to watch Outland for the first time in over a decade. And I fucking remembered how much I loved it that I did that sculpture of him as, and I even did the badge separately. So once it was baked, I could glue it on, and then I was going to do molds. But now it sits at a friend's house. The original artwork is sitting at my buddy Robert Scott McCall's house. He's got a lot of my statues.
This was, it was left like this. You didn't colorize it in any way.
No.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of that. I like art to look like art.
Yeah. Well, very good. It's good. And this was made out of plaster or
super Sculpey.
Okay.
It's finely
Very good,
detailed.
mate. Pretty good.
Thank you.
Very craggy on the old forehead there, a little bit, you know.
Yeah, it was later on. I mean, after I bake it, I'm like, I think I should have put the brow down a little bit, lesser. But the fact is, I wanted the shadow on the eyes is what I wanted.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. Yeah, it's good. You should retrieve that. Carry it everywhere with you. So, yes, the groups that were... this does describe the groups quite well. And I think you can draw parallels here to today's society. So the Eternals, well, you'd be looking at your World Economic Forum types. Exterminators would be the muscle that they use. The Brutals are us
Antifa.
plebs. Antifa, yeah. The Brutals are us plebs. The Apathetics are the normies.
They're also the Doomers.
The NPCs.
The black-pilled.
Yeah.
See, the Renegades should have been called the Apoplectics.
Well, we're the Renegades, in a sense.
I guess.
The Renegades are the people who've been canceled.
I will tell you this: as
Renegades
bad
are
as this
based.
movie might be on some standards, still better than the Eternals.
Yeah.
On all standards.
Well, the Internals here are better than the Eternals in Marvel, that's for sure. Or the
Amen.
Maternals, as I call them. The Maternals.
Amen. Maternals.
Yeah.
Do you think this movie would make a good remake if it was done by Denis Villeneuve?
I think Denis Villeneuve could make a good version of this.
I can't think of
Given
anyone
the
else
ideas.
who could.
I think
he'd
right
do a
now-
better job of pulling the themes out that Boorman seemed to have a problem with going into that third act.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does seem to have a talent for pulling the.
Well, it's like you
actual
said,
theme out of the
it's in the comparison I make is the difference between enjoying a delicious steak or having mulligan stew, where everything is thrown in. And that's how the third act felt, is like a whole bunch was thrown in instead of delivering a really good meal.
Yeah, and I think that if it was me, I would put a little bit more technology in it. We saw glimpses of technology, but it was quite, with crystals or whatever. I think I would have a little
One
bit
thing
more
they should
technology.
not change, though, 70s, that costume right there.
Yes.
Sorry, I
Who
just
could
gotta
pull
get
it
these
off,
bots.
All right.
Well,
Henry
Bird's
Cavill.
dead, Sean's dead, so
Henry Cavill could pull it off.
Yeah, or Henry. Yeah, I could see that. Henry
I don't
Cavill.
think I don't think even straight guys like us can handle it. I don't think we can handle it. Henry Cavill in that.
Couldn't we
I can
get
see Tom Hardy doing it.
Elliot Page, I think, could do it.
Elliot Page.
The surgery scars would show.
Wait a
Or
minute.
maybe Big Mike could do it.
Oh no!
Look, Elliot, to make this work, you're going to have to put a potato in your shorts, okay? Put the potato in your shorts, and then, of course, shooting day comes. Everybody freaks out.
Well, of course, there's
And
a
the
potato
director
report.
walks
She
up
put
to
'em on.
Elliot going, maybe
Good
next
grace.
time, Elliot, put the potato in the front of your pants.
Race swap it and put Big Mike in there. I think.
If he wasn't dead, Ricardo Montalban could pull it off.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, see, all the cool guys are dead. They're dead. They couldn't do it.
It's got to be somebody that would look good in this pouch.
Did we talk at all about how Friend mentions briefly that they did all this so they could travel to the stars, and they did, and they came back and it was a dead end, and they didn't.
No, we didn't mention that, but that's a fantastic point. So
I think that's another example of like something that's tossed in for like 5 seconds, And you're like, wait, what? You had star
Yeah.
travel? You went to another solar system and came
But
back?
that makes perfect sense because to travel those distances, you would want some kind of immortality.
Yeah.
Because you
to
either have to
survive
do
it.
that or multiple generations to get those distances. So yeah, they did it so they could do that.
Without faster than light travel, it's going to take you 100 years to get there and 100 years to come back.
See, that would be funky is that it's not on a planet, but instead the discovery at the MOB is that they're on some sort of ship
Well, it could
with
be like
this
Dark City.
giant terrarium.
It could be like Dark City. They could be on a floating prison, basically, in a sense. So Sean Estep's got a great point that Culture Casino could play this role.
It's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, Culture
watch
could
that.
do it. He's got the weave. He could do it.
Nick Weiser too. I think he's got the
Weiser.
mustache.
Oh
for it.
yeah, yeah.
His friend turned out to be an interesting guy. He was an interesting character. 'Cause he didn't have straightforward motivations necessarily, but he ended up having good ones.
He was pretty much the agent of chaos, as I like to put it, where he's the one that kind of gets the ball rolling.
And he seems a little
then
bit
just
on
stand back and
the
watches.
passive aggressive side too.
Yeah. He's a little subversive.
Yeah, it's a great piece of acting from John Alderton because virtually the rest of his career was in sitcoms. So very out of character for him, but good. He did a good job. And then we had
Dildo says, "Who would Matt play?"
Freckles.
Freckles. This would be Matt here. Matt would be one of the pieces of furniture in the. He'd be the dining table, I believe.
Who would be Frayne?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. Could be you,
David Tennant.
David Tennant. Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, or what about Gary? I mean, like neurotic Gary.
No, Ryan Cannell would be Frayne.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
As he goes out the mouth, you just hear "fuck."
Okay, so Imperatus and Pope, I've got a challenge for you. Retitle this with the name of a metal band.
The Exterminators, obviously.
Exterminators.
I'll use one I used
Exterminators.
last night. Kind of an underground band from the Czech Republic. Maniac Butcher.
That's great. This is Maniac Butcher, just about to go on tour.
It's true.
I love that. Maniac Butcher. That's cool. Yeah, and these were
Zed
all
and the Bandoliers.
yeah, these were the Irish gypsy traveling people that they hired. And they said they were fantastic. They turned up on time, fully prepared, did everything that was asked for them. Yeah.
I was waiting for someone to say it. Like, can we say that? Is that okay?
Pikes.
Is that allowed?
Now you can do a Brad Pitt in Snatch.
Snatch.
Accent.
Well, even on,
It's the Irish version of Boomhauer.
yeah, even on Top Gear, they had to do a visual metaphor where they put out like a baked pie and then a key.
What is it? Is it considered that bad now?
Well, I think they were just being cheeky, but yeah, I mean, it is kind of considered offensive.
Well,
You can
do
correct
have to
me,
say
70s.
Traveling people. No, it's the same
Traveling
in Britain and Ireland. It's the term
Travelers.
Travelers is what's
Yeah, because
used.
that's what they call them here in the U.S. The Irish clans.
The trouble is, I think what happened, and I don't want to get political in Europe, in Britain and Ireland particularly, was they had your traditional travelers, who would previously be called Romanes or Gypsies, who had the wagons, and that's how they lived.
Oh, you're talking about that. I thought you were talking about travelers as in
no, but then
communist
another group
supporters.
of people adopted that as an excuse to just go around and do what the fuck they wanted. And they all had RVs and Land Rovers, and they
And
would
that's what they do
settle
here in the
somewhere,
U.S., the Irish clans.
do crime or whatever. They give the real travelers a bad name, So they use it as an excuse, like any opportunist would, to just settle in places and then do what they wanted and say they were protected.
And we've had like a movie about them with Bill Paxton, and then there was a TV series with Eddie Izzard. And what's her head with the giant head? The actress.
ZARDOZ?
God, her head is so fucking big. Yeah. Heath head. It's got a head like Sputnik.
Yeah. What I'm trying to figure out here is this really an effective way of ploughing a field?
Well, at least they're sticking to it.
Yeah. Did they get to log off eventually? You could branch out into other things.
Branch out.
So here's the apathetics. And let's face it, if I looked like them, I'd be apathetic too. This guy's got no boobs at all. Doesn't he just look like your average soy boy? You know, this is definitely a prediction of the future.
There is this weird, kind of Egyptian headdress fashion thing that's going on in the vortex that, Arthur Frayn's mustache is kind of drawn on, just like the fake beards that the pharaohs would wear.
Yeah. It's true. It is quasi-Egyptian. Yeah.
Yeah.
The giant head is reminiscent of the Sphinx in a certain visual way.
Why didn't they just make him lie a bit further down on the table and his head wouldn't have been hanging off the end? I always wondered that.
That's how they get the memories to fall out.
Excuse me a second.
So Wikipedia says that pikey is a slang term, which is a pejorative and considered to be a slur.
It is, yeah. I'll be right back. Just keep vamp.
All right. That means I'm in charge for now.
Oh my God!
We're all gonna die.
I don't have powers yet. I think I have to refresh.
Minnie Driver is the actress with the giant head I was trying to think of.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Well, he did that series called The Riches, which is about American pikeys or travelers, where they take the place of a family who are accidentally killed, and they steal their RV and go back to their house and find out it's an amazing house, and not too many people seem to know them, so they're able to hide in plain sight.
Okay.
It's almost like what is that movie, The Distinguished Gentleman, where the guy has the same name as a dead congressman, so he just goes to Congress in his place.
I don't think I've seen that one. Who's in that?
The Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy.
Freaking great.
That one. Yeah. Oh, see, I've never seen that. Oh man.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's a hilarious movie.
I had to. The Mrs. Rock fan was singing away to her iPod through there, so I had to close the door. She'd be mortified if she thought people could hear her.
So I think that guy with no boobs in the last shot, I think that's who Soul Assassin has pegged for Elliot Page.
I think that's Elliot Page, yeah. And so it isn't really a guy, it's a gender construct fluid.
The real thing that sells it for her is the vacant
non-binary. Oh my God, that's it. This is the premonition of the non-binaries.
Yeah,
I think that the scene where, the moment when she was talking to her doctor about, well, I guess I'm going to have that mastectomy. And he's like, no, it's not necessary. She goes, no, really, I should have it. Now, you really don't need it.
Non-binary doesn't mean unitary. It could mean trinary. I mean, you could have three sexes.
Yeah. Right. And they're all kind of drawing toward like a non-binary center.
Or you can be literal and they're just trying to be any sex. Because they're trying.
I have to pick this girl. She's got the best, decollage.
Okay, when I was just rewatching that girl that you just pointed out, even when she gets rejuvenated with Zed's energy, she looks exactly like that.
Miserable.
She does not change facial expression at all.
Dog.
Yeah, that's the whole resting bitch face thing. It happens. It's real.
And Hedonia.
She would not be a good. She wouldn't make you happy. She'd be very miserable.
Everybody else gets a look of excitement on their face at the moment that his vitality is imparted to them, except for her. She's the only one that looks exactly the same after.
Yeah, but I do look in this, and all I can see is a Portland SJW gathering. Look at this.
Yeah.
With some poor guy being the target of their attack. But... And then it's, a party at my house.
That crowd looks a little bit young for you.
That's the Fandom Menace.
And I don't dance, so I'll just be sitting in the corner.
You're the one with the blue bandana on the head. That's you.
That's right. There's a couple of hot babes in here.
You notice how they're all kind of dressed. Well, like, maybe not all of them. A lot of them are dressed kind of Edwardian.
Yeah,
you know, in their
They've
costume.
all got dinner suits.
Yeah, like a
on,
scene from The
dragons.
Shining.
Yeah.
I do like this guy's haircut though. That's pretty good. So and then we have of course, the reveal. Now I wonder, was it just because of the man behind the curtain?
Probably.
That's what he said in the commentary.
Yeah. You know, like that book would be the key for Zed to everything. I mean,
that book. That book.
That book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the template.
I think it's a nice reveal.
Could you have read The Art of War or something? I don't know, something useful.
Yeah, well, because you think it would be easy to figure out, but like I didn't figure it out, and I asked Slasher. I paused it. I'm like, all right, what book do you think that is? What's the book? He's like, the Bible. I'm like, yeah, no, you'd think it's the Bible. It's not the Bible, right?
It's a Kama Sutra.
Yeah, well,
that comes later. The name of this movie that could very well be the one.
Well, it's Arthur Frayn's Bible for how he controlled the Outlands.
Right, exactly.
That's true.
Transylvanians.
So
Anyway.
who were the flying monkeys in the movie, I wonder?
Oh.
The flying monkeys are on the panel.
Okay.
No, we're the static monkeys.
We're the flying monkeys.
So I will probably be drawing this happy occasion to an end. So I'd like to go round you all and ask your final thoughts, or indeed pre-final thoughts, or any thoughts about the status of this movie. And we'll start with our good friend Legalize in the corner here. So give it to us, buddy. What do you really? We've been through all this. You've seen it, the movie, a few times. What do you?
Yeah, earn that
what do you
Emmy
think?
right now.
Where is it in the pantheon?
For me, this has always been one of my favorite movies. I think because it's jam-packed full of so many ideas, and even just that like 5-second one-liner tossed out about going to other, star systems and, in space travel, and then coming back and finding out it was just another dead end. I think that's one of the things that I love about it so much, that it's just so intellectually jam-packed, but it's also the thing that makes so many people not like it, because it's trying to do too much, and many of the ideas are either only partially exhibited or exhibited in an inferior fashion or insufficiently fleshed out, or whatever, however you want to think of it. In terms of how it like stacks up in the pantheon, I mean, if you think back to, film history of 1970s science fiction, until Star Wars came out, like everything was like, just water to a man dying of thirst in the desert. So in that context, it stands out as one of the better 70s science fiction films up until, if you look at the 70s before Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
The other entries in that canon would be things like Logan's Run, Westworld, and lesser known entries. But those other films, they have like one idea that they try to show off, and that's why they're considered better, because they just focus on one idea. It's kind of like the jack of all trades versus somebody who's an expert in a single thing. People appreciate the expert who's achieved high levels of competency in a single field, whereas the jack of all trades is like the guy you come to fix your gutter when it's leaking or something. He's still useful, but you just kind of bring him around, but he's not really given the same respect as the person who's achieved some, excellence in a single field. And I think that's kind of how this film gets stacked up compared to its competitors.
All right. No, interesting points. I like that. It's nice to have an intellectual on the show for once.
Where?
Oh, fuck you.
Just kidding. No, good points, mate. And I like the points you were making about the it's pre-Star Wars. So it's a movie of coming out of the 60s with idea-driven. And the execution of that may be different or not good in some ways, but it's idea-driven. It's taking philosophical and
it's
some
what science
intellectual-
fiction was in the 60s
Yeah.
and early 70s before
Yeah,
Star
it's
Wars.
not spaceships, and which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love space battles and all that good stuff you get in action sci-fi. But this was an ideas film.
I think in terms of sci-fi film, there's two very clear demarcation points. One is 2001, and the other is Star Wars.
Yeah.
And everything before 2001 is taken non-seriously, a B film, like a joke, except for a few
sci-fi, silly,
a few films that stand out, like This Island
Forbidden
Earth
Planet.
and Forbidden
yeah.
Planet definitely stand out. And then you've got that period between 2001 and Star Wars where people are they don't want to imitate 2001, but they want to do serious science fiction at the same time.
I guess I think two I would count are Forbin the Colossus Project, which I've always loved.
Oh,
Another
yeah.
favorite of mine, yes.
Absolutely love that movie. And A Boy and His Dog, which is
Another good one.
around about the
Sci-fi,
same time as
yeah.
this. So these are the kind of movies you would get between those two pillars that you just mentioned.
Let's
And
put
I
it
do
this
love
way.
them.
I don't want to spoil it, but he picks the dog over the girl.
And he should.
Yep.
Because the dog's way more useful.
Way more
So,
useful and loving.
And when you
I
tell it to
noticed in
shut
the-
up, it usually listens.
So in the chat, and you've all been, the chat have been fantastic today. Really, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. You make this experience such good fun. We do have one opinion from Hungry for Akira. It was a proper 70s sci-fi book made into a film. So anybody else in the chat wants to expound on what they think of this movie in a nice succinct way, we will read those out. So I'm going to move on to for the closing arguments from the defense and the prosecution rolled into one. Pope Metallicus.
Well, I mean, I think I agree with a lot with what Legalized said here. I'm not as big a fan of it as he is, obviously, but I think it's a movie that tried to have a lot of really interesting ideas and unfortunately couldn't pick a lane and stay in it. So it just kind of had a whole bunch of ideas that it hit very, very briefly rather than one coherent idea that it really drilled down on. So like he says, it's a jack of all trades. And unfortunately, when a movie's trying to do a lot of things, it tends not to do all of them well. And I think there was a couple ideas here that they really missed out on that they could have done better. But overall, I like the movie. And it certainly doesn't deserve the reputation it's gotten.
Indeed, I would certainly agree with you there, sir. Thank you for that. Imperatus, we did get a few words from you earlier, but have you had time to recant your heretical opinions?
How long have you known me?
Long enough to know you're never going to recant your heretical
I am
opinions.
a walking billboard for blasphemy, damn it.
And you sell it so well.
Maybe I'll give this another try. It's one of those ones, like I said, they had some good ideas. I just don't think they capitalized on it. At least from what I saw and from what you guys were saying.
Yeah. One thing I thought about was it had this very eclectic soundtrack with a lot of early music and a little bit of Beethoven. Do you think it would have been better if it had a metal soundtrack?
Nah, I don't think so.
No.
The whole atmosphere of the movie was very kind of spacey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah.
There wasn't really anything overtly intense or brutal. Even the action scenes, from what I saw today from the screenshots, don't appear to be that brutal or that exciting, so to speak. You get what I'm saying?
It's quite restrained in that manner. You're right. It's certainly not a movie you could describe as being gory or toxic or any of those things. It's very much, again, a movie of ideas. Even the action's fairly tame. So cool.
I think Hungry for Akira nails it here when he says it needs prog music. This would be where a band like like Rush or somebody like that would really shine. I think
you might have got certainly got with other movies was Tangerine Dream and bands like that, more electronic prog.
Honestly, Hawkwind might have done well with this, and they would have been around at the time.
It just would be interesting to see what it
was
looked
just
like cut with
10
a
years
different
too early.
soundtrack.
Well,
Yeah.
8 years too early.
So, Gary, give us your. See that you're about to have Malky committed on you.
I'm sitting
from behind.
here in Glasgow, and it's so sunny. Sunny Jim, let me tell you.
You're about to get hit with a deep fried Mars bar in the back of the head.
Look, because it was right around the period when we got to see a lot of experimental science fiction, which really came about because of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So, but oddly, some of the best came from Russia, which you had Solaris and what was that real weird one? And people ended up dying after making it. Stalker, yeah, Stalker. And this movie's kind of like in between that. And then, of course, you had Silent Running by Doug Trumbull.
Oh yeah,
with Bruce Dern, and that was a good, deep,
that's a good
heavy
movie.
But this is when, like you said, the superior time when they were writing more about ideas and philosophy rather than gimmickry. They would use real science here and there, but mostly they wanted to tell a story that threw the audience off a little bit and made them sort of maybe take a look at themselves and society itself. Not being overly critical, just showing it and take a look at this thing, how we look at death, how we look at life, how we look at reproduction. And this film tried to do that. And like we've already said, it was a bit of a mulligan stew that I think that if they had narrowed it down to very specific, important themes, I think the film would have done better critically, even with the low budget and shitty costumes, crazy costumes. Awesome costumes too, man. My God, boobs, just so many boobs.
So many boobs. Sorry, Gary, were you saying something there?
Oh yes, good. One Man Show said it too. Slaughterhouse 5 is another one.
Slaughterhouse 5, good one.
Great
film.
film.
They made that into a movie?
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Are you
They
serious?
made that into a movie?
Fucking around. You're fucking around, Darius. Shut up.
And
sure.
I like
sure.
the Andromeda strain because I'm a big.
Oh
yeah, because that was still was that still the 60s when that came out?
No, it was like 1970.
Yeah, 70.
Isn't that Michael Crichton?
That was
Michael Crichton. You know what's funny about that movie is he'd never directed a movie in his life or even worked on one, and because he wrote in the book, they said, "Do you want to direct a movie?" He went, "Okay." He'd
Great
never done it before in his life.
It's sci-fi horror, man.
I love the Andromeda strain.
I
because
remember
it's so
having
matter of
nightmares
fact.
because I went to see it in a drive-in with my brother and my dad, and oh my God, when you're looking from the perspective of the disease moving around, fuck, that scared me as a kid. Anytime you saw that, because you didn't know what it was doing, you were it, and
that is
Andromeda
freaky.
strain, man.
So just before my remaining guest gets his say, we mentioned Stalker. I'd always recommend the book Roadside Picnic.
What is it? Is that a movie?
This is the original book that the movie
Is it
Stalker.
what?
It's a book. B-O-O-K. Book. You see this stuff?
Yeah, in fact, he has a video all about that book.
I did a video on this.
You
This
did a
is one
video
of the
about that
greatest
book?
science fiction books ever written.
The Russians know their shit with science fiction, man. Like,
No, they really do.
From
And you know
Asimov
what,
all the way
Gary?
up to who's the guy who wrote Metro?
Well,
that just got put
yeah.
on the freaking watch list.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the one from the 80s?
No, the guy who wrote Metro 2033.
Yeah.
I
Which
don't
I
know.
can't remember, but I do love the game.
Is that related to the video game series?
Yes,
it is.
It's
Yeah.
the direct
Anyway.
inspiration for it. Yeah.
I'm going to get a copy of that book. Is that available now, or is that still?
Oh yeah, this
available?
book's been out for years. Roadside Picnic.
I'm
Arcadian
From
Boris
Buchenwald.
Strugatsky. Great book, brilliant book. Stalker is based on it, the film, but it's Stalker does have a different take on it. It's not quite the same plot, but
That's
it's
such a tragic film,
concepts
by
the
the
same.
way. Anybody who knows the history of what happened from that film,
ter-
they filmed in
production
areas
hell.
where there is chemical and radioactive material, and so many of them, including the director, got sick and died.
Hmm. So,
Ouch.
Darius, my friend, lay it on me, man.
Come on, Munchausen, do your biopsy.
Do it.
No,
Do
I
it.
think I was about 22 when I first saw Zardoz on the Independent
You
Film
were
Channel.
never 22.
I know, it feels like so long ago. And I remember it was, I expect to find, eccentric, movies on there. But yeah, this movie is so dense that it just kind of like went into my brain, and I didn't pick up everything, like Legalized Adulthood did, all at first on the surface, but it just kind of like stuck there, which is why I recommended it, around a month ago when we watched the one with Not the Bees.
Oh, God, the remake. Yeah.
Yeah. We watched the remake.
Wicker Man.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, the Matriarchal Society. We should watch ZARDOZ, right? And so watching it again, with fresh eyes, I picked up on so many more things, but I'm also aware of so many more things now than I was 13 years ago. And this movie is very dense. It's very artistic.
What did you just do? What did you just do?
The thoughts and opinions expressed by the Cyborg are not necessarily those of that 70s rock band or his affiliates. And I think there's a lot here. I think the way it was done, now I don't know if it was a small budget per se, because $1 million in 1970, what was it, 75?
It was definitely low budget.
Okay.
Very low even for then.
Yeah. This is the kind of movie. Now, as much as I hate all the remakes and the reboots that I see, and I, shut on them constantly, this is actually the kind of movie, like Scarface, that it's been long enough, and it would be different enough now if you did it, that it could be remade and be worth remaking, but only if it was made by Villeneuve or maybe someone else I'm not thinking of, because I can't think of anyone else I'd really want to remake this movie. But
yeah, I agree with you.
As far as costuming and things like that. Now I know Legalized is not bothered by these things, but as far as there's a lot packed into this movie conceptually, and I do kind of admire the in-camera effects, which I have since. Seeing the overuse of CGI, in my time, even just since, I went to school to learn CGI, now I have an appreciation of practical effects. And so these are all done in camera. That is really cool with the projection and stuff. Some of the scenes went on a little long, but altogether, this has some really good ideas. And it's I think anyone can watch this and get something out of it because, like I was talking about at the beginning of the movie, if you're a cop hating lefty, you could see it as being sort of a dystopian future where, the cops are empowered to keep everyone in line, right? And then you have this utopian society that's communism. But of course, if you watch the rest of the movie, that's not quite how it plays out. And so this movie is either accidentally based or it explores themes in a way that we really wouldn't get now. And it might have been more than what Boorman really knew what he was really tapping into as far as the future, because it does predict some things, and it is cool to see some of these really sophisticated concepts like the the emergent AI in this gemstone, it's like a 3D hard drive that but depicted in a way that is kind of what's the word? It's not simplified, but there's a symbolic language in the film.
Yeah.
But I love this movie. Carol hated it when it was over. I was like, huh? She's like, I'll never forgive you for making me watch this. I'm like, and here I was thinking, because we watch bad movies every week, and I'm like, well, I guess I cheated.
It will be cited in your divorce.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I guess this is cheating because this is a great movie. It's not a bad movie at all. And but it was not her cup of tea.
Sometimes we have to go through
I'm not
those,
kidding, dude.
those
You
moments.
watch when you get divorced, it will be in there. It's one of the reasons.
He made me watch ZARDOZ.
Now,
Well,
I'm going to
thank you
say
for that,
something
Dennis.
to
Every
Dildo.
Friday.
Sentient Dildo brought up something that I said it previously, that Tarkovsky, when he got cancer, he had a very specific kind of cancer that they related back to his exposure in making that movie, Stalker. And because he had specifically cancer of the alveoli lining of his lungs, the little sacs, from something he inhaled. Not from cigarette smoke, because it's a
Kind of
different
heavy
kind of-
metals. Yeah.
yeah, and so they did relate it later, because I've seen two accounts of doctors who said, yeah, it was directly related to his work on that damn movie. It killed him.
Wow.
So
it's kind of like what happens to some of the characters in the story. You know, they encounter these freaky substances.
Yep.
You can
and
all
they
shut up.
die.
I'm talking now. So my feelings are that, as I say, I watched it twice this week. I have completely, over the years, changed my opinion of this movie. I actually think it is a really good movie, albeit flawed. But it's certainly not the Farrago that it's portrayed as years ago. It's some great ideas. They had a great team making it. I think Connery's performance is completely played straight. He is absolutely not skimping on that performance, albeit he is skimping on his outfit. It's got some great ideas. It certainly isn't everybody's cup of tea, but I think there's enough in there to make it worthwhile watching at least once. So bravo, I think Boorman did a way better job than people gave him credit for in that.
Well, I'm a big Boorman fan, and I think you are too. So
yeah, absolutely. I do love a lot of John Boorman's work, Hope and Glory, stuff like that.
And he did say this was his most indulgent film.
Yeah, so I think it deserves a good 6 or 7 out of 10. It's not a 0 out of 10 like some people would rate it. And Connery particularly commits to it. He commits to that role.
I think that's important for this movie to work at all. Is the main character, especially like Connery, had to like completely sell it, because even other main characters aren't on screen all that much. He's in every shot pretty much, so he had to like really believe in it.
And he doesn't have that many lines.
No. And by the way, I wanted to point out, because Darius brought up the budget. I actually looked up $1 million from that year compared to today is equivalent of about $6.2 million.
It's still a pittance.
Yeah, it's definitely low budget still.
Yeah.
And remember, 200,000 went to Sean Connery. So really the budget for the film is 800,000.
That's right. And when so they did great. A lot of great practical effects. They used the sets to the best ability that they could. They used the extras that were probably pretty cheap, but they were effective. So good to
use what you got
for them. Use what you got. So I would say it's a worthy film after all. A worthy.
When did you first watch it?
Fiction.
70s.
First time I ever saw it was in late 1970s on television in the UK.
That's what I did.
Late 70s, like maybe 78, 79, and I didn't get it. Then I watched it again many years later, again on television. I thought, you know what? That's actually quite an interesting film. Didn't say I liked it particularly, but watching it twice this week and doing all the research, I came to an appreciation of it I didn't have before, which is it actually stands up well, as Legalized was saying, in that grouping of films post-2001, pre-Star Wars. It deserves more praise than it gets, in my opinion. And if they make a remake, I want Guy Ritchie to direct the remake with Jason Statham.
Guy Ritchie with Jason Statham.
I was going to say, if it was going to be remade, it'd have to be remade by a Hollywood outsider. It couldn't be made by anybody inside Hollywood. They would pervert all the messaging to be 100% inverted from what is actually displayed.
Yeah, they do to this movie what Paul Verhoeven did to Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Which was great, but it wasn't Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I mean,
it was not the book.
No,
completely different thing.
If somebody did a movie of the book, I'd fucking love it. Like, I would go nuts over it. But
I got excited when I heard the Japanese had adapted it back in the 80s, and I watched it and thinking, oh, now they'll do it as the and they didn't do it as the book either.
Hungry makes a good point in that when I did see it on television, in British television first time, it was uncut. All the boobs were in it. So I was like,
boobs.
Yeah, I saw the cut for TV version.
Yeah.
So if you think of this movie as like a AI out of control kind of movie, you mentioned 70s, the Colossus, the Forbidden Project earlier. A great pairing with Colossus Forbidden Project is Demon Seed, which is also a 70s movie.
God, yeah. Julie Christie, isn't it?
Julie Christie is the poor woman victimized by the computer.
Do you remember who wrote that? Anybody? Dean R. Koontz.
No, Dean R. Koontz. Really? But that's a genuinely creepy movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just genuinely. I love that movie. I love.
And they left some of it
someone
out of the film.
I like that
from what he wrote.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. I
didn't.
I see that on the Wikipedia page, but I didn't realize that the book was written by Dean Koontz.
I'm
So
a
I think
walking
one day-
Wikipedia page.
One day we'll get round to doing those movies in this in these streams, because I do love those. Lev Forbin Colossus Project particularly.
Yeah,
It's
me
one
too.
of my all-time favorite movies. It's just so fucking on the nail, you know. Could still
It
come
is
true.
funny though that what you pointed out, that there's no guns that use those bullets that are on his bandolier.
That's right. He's got this Webley revolver from 1900 whatever. And
He's got like 50 cal
and he's got
shells on his
7.62s,
bandolier.
and he's got whatever. Yeah. Cannon. He's got everything but that. He could have picked up any gun. He's got the revolver, but works better in the movie because he needs a handheld gun. So I am going to wrap up, folks. Fun as it's been, I would like to thank my panel. You've all been fucking amazing. So thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to stream with you guys, because you're just, you get it. You get this stuff. Thank you. I would also love to thank Lord Thoth, Sentient Dildo, and Darius for doing modding work and snapping those bots and getting the links in there.
And I saw what you did, Darius. Fuck you.
I saw that too. By torch. I would like to thank everyone that's been in the chat. We were over 20 people at one point live, which is fantastic, and it stayed pretty decent. I have to say the last show we did, Outland, has been the most watched of my live streams ever. And if this one's anything to go by, this might turn out to be the most watched, or more watched than that even, on replay. So thank you to everybody. Thanks for all the support to the channel. In Canadian Spider-Man, hi buddy, you've just popped in towards the end. It's good to see you, my friend. I'm getting there now, over 500 subs, had some great views and some things, having a lot of fun. Then, so yeah, in the chat we got Canadian Spider-Man, Lord Thoth, Sean Estep, thanks buddy for everything. Hungry for Akira and all the other words. And Odo Detective Series. We've had, if I scroll back, Sentient Dildo One Man Show. Good to see you, my friend. Legalize Adulthood's on the panel.
All hail Lord Thoth.
Lord Thoth. I'm sorry if I miss anybody. I don't mean to miss anybody, because there's been lots of people here chatting away all the time. Soul Assassin. Mark D with a C, also a panelist at times. Thank you, my friend, for being here. Man of War 665, Neighbor of the Beast. Good to see you. We've had. Remind me of anybody I've missed.
Did you say Lindsay?
Lindsay, Cynical Geek. Yes, thank you for being here. Dark Shadow Logan was here. Purple Valkyrie, our great friend Purple Valkyrie was here. One Man Show, I think I said.
She still owes us a photo of her in the high boots.
She does, remember. And I'm not going to let her forget that. E. Clay Thomason, my Blair to Blair, the great Blair, Christian Delorme, great friend of the channel. And my apologies, it's as far back as I can go if I forgot anybody. I really sorry about that. You've all supported this channel immensely. I do appreciate it. Thank you. And we're here to have fun. That's what we do. So in 2 weeks from now, the next show is going to be another metal special. So this time it'll be aluminum or aluminium. We're going to do some bronze and copper and various.
Look it up in Webster's dictionary.
I don't trust Webster's dictionary because they can't define what a woman is now. So
look up the old copy. It still says aluminum.
So no, we're going to do metal. We're going to do metal old, metal new. Lots of metal. It's going to be new wave of traditional heavy metal. There's going to be old style metal. There's going to be whatever anyone wants to bring to the table to talk about. Louder, harder, faster, best concert experiences. It's just going to be all metal. Bring pictures, bring clips, whatever you want to do. There may be an extremely special guest who I'm not at liberty to say who it's going to be, but it's somebody you will all know and is pretty big. So that's yet to be confirmed, and I'm praying that it's going to happen. So They've certainly said they want to do it, but I need to check back between now and that show. So stay tuned.
Nice.
As soon as I get the word, I will be saying who that is. It's going to be a kick-ass show, and I hope you're all here taking part. So, any final words? Who wants to plug something? As the
I want to
actress
plug
said
you,
to the
buddy.
bishop. Peg or plug? That's the question. Who wants to
Pegging.
plug one of, who's got something to plug?
Well, I mean, on Sunday, I'm going to be doing my usual rock and roll religion with Imperatus and a couple other guys. And we are going to be covering Demolition Hammer on this one.
Ooh, nice.
Which is going to be great for Imperatus because that's one of his favorites. And he's actually one of the ones who got me into it. So that should be a great episode. And other than that, I'm on here all the time. And you can find me around in the chats usually. Making inappropriate comments and generally making an ass of myself.
As we all do.
I've got only one thing to say is that Wednesday is going to be a big show for us on Morning Coffee with Gary, UFO Wednesday. We're going to have one of the top ufologists he was the publisher, editor-in-chief of UFO Magazine, and Dark Matters Radio is going to be our guest, Don Ecker. So that's fun.
Cool.
Yeah, I know him.
Nice.
He and I are old friends.
Not personally, but
I know him personally. He's like a very good friend of mine. And I told him when I called him, you can take it off me now. When I called him the other day, we hadn't talked in like 5 years. And he answered the phone. I said, "Oh, thank God you're not dead." I was so scared you were dead because you ended your show.
It's
And I'm like, oh my God.
Not normally a reaction you get.
He laughed.
Gary. Cool. Thank you for that, Gary. Imperatus, my friend, got anything you wish to plug in the immediate future?
The only thing I have going on this week is a long work schedule and then possibly being on the MF or Cocktail Lounge on Friday and then Pope on Sunday. That's about it.
Oh, that's good enough, my friend.
And being a heretic, don't leave that out.
That's a day-to-day, hour-to-hour
No,
thing.
but don't leave it out.
It's very important.
MF Cocktail Lounge is always good fun, everybody, on Foulball Productions Friday. I'm sure you're all there anyway. But
Any Legion of Memers still in the chat, you will find ample fodder for your craft.
That's what they do. They do. Legalize, my friend. What do you got going on?
So every day on my channel, I post 1 week's of worths of Dark Shadows introductions. So the opening scene of 5 episodes of Dark Shadows. We're in 1969 now, continuing on. So every day you get another week's worth. And occasionally there will be me posting a video clipped out of somebody else's stream where they read my super chats, my simping series, as I call it.
Cool. So yeah, everybody go to Legalize's channel. Links were in the chat further up. And
I think isn't he in the description?
Definitely in there, yeah. Links are there for sure. And Darius.
Yeah, he's in the description.
Yeah. Good. Darius, brother.
Hey.
Is your channel going again?
It will be. I get asked every single day, like, "What are you going to stream again?" I'm like, "Look, I'm working. I'm working on the house, and because my friend and his mom are going to stay with me for a little bit, but I can't stay away. No, I'll be back to it. I'm still growing, even though I haven't been streaming for like 5 months.
Well, maybe that's the way to go. Don't put content up; you get bigger.
Yeah. Sometimes I noticed that. Sometimes I grow faster when I'm not streaming than when I do. But
content is overrated.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Indeed. Abscess makes the heart grow fonder. Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, mate.
Abscess makes the fart go Honda.
Harder. Yes. So, and I will be on Toxic Tuesday tomorrow night, 32 Flavors of Nick Visor's channel. I think we're doing South Park bigger, longer, and uncut.
I'm going to be there with you, buddy.
Oh, no, can I not get away from you?
No. You're trot, lad.
So I'll be bigger and longer. You can be uncut.
I'll be uncut.
He's like the inverse of comics. He sticks around where comics runs every time you show up.
Right.
I'll probably be on Midnight's Edge After Dark on tomorrow as well, I would think. So you might see me there. And then some other shit will happen. I'll do other stuff. Yeah, so great. Thank you again, everybody. It's been a fantastic show. Hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll definitely look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, let's hit some kind of video outro. See you all next time. Goodbye.